start that recording and start that stream. Welcome to Horsin Around, a dumbass cast. I'm your host, as always, Nick Bergadante, and with me today I have 4 lovely guests. If you would like to introduce yourselves.
No.
Okay.
I'm Brandon Chu.
Mm-hmm.
We're all Brandon Chu here.
On.
Thank you, guys. Mm-hmm.
I'm Jacob.
Mm-hmm.
I'm Toby Arndt.
I'm Paige. Murky.
Awesome.
Oh, I'm Kobe. I'm Kobe.
It's been 3 years of this shit, and it
never changes. Some things never change. But thank y'all for joining me. We are on the final of our 3-part retrospective series on 2023. We are now
wrapping the year up, baby.
We're wrapping the year up, almost a month into the new one.
I have yapped with you the last 2 sessions, Murky. Now I got to yap.
Yeah, you've been committed to you have lots of opinions on all types of media. Yeah. But the type of media we are discussing this week is movies, specifically the best and the worst of 2023. And we're going to start with our absolute most dog water viewing experiences from the last year. And I will start with the quote-unquote horror movie called Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey. I put this on my yearly marathon of horror movies because for Kobe's recommendation, and good lord, that was my first half star on Letterboxd ever because it is just so.
Welcome to the club.
I was trying to think of there was a lot of words I could use to describe this movie. I think vapid is probably a pretty good one, and just it is so clearly they were it's a bold-faced cash grab, that's obvious, but it's also just it's adding negative value by existing. It feels like when I watch it. I don't know.
Not to start off with a debate about words, but I think vapid is being too generous.
Maybe, yeah. What would you go for then?
So I talked about this a little bit beforehand, but for part of it, I wanted to give this movie the benefit of the doubt because it felt so much like a cash grab in the way that a 60s B movie is a cash grab. When I say B movie, I mean the actual definition of a B movie, which is the studio needs there could be no downtime at the theater. We need something to run. Fucking find $5 in plywood and fucking put something together. And it has that rushed amateurish style of I was talking about this too, where it's every scene is a different example you can give in film class about what not to do in your movie.
Oh yeah.
It's there's no continuity to anything. The scenes just happen one after the other with the loosest of
so much ADR and post production editing to try and make more sense. Yes. I wonder how different a first draft of this movie was when they started filming, because it's clearly not how it ended.
Yeah, this isn't draft. This is improv, Murky. They improv this.
This took a weekend to film.
I believe that wholeheartedly. It surely looks like that. And it's just I don't know.
Who physically hurt me?
Yeah,
actually, it did. The movie gave me COVID.
Yes. It literally did give him COVID. I was sitting directly next to him while watching this movie. I walked out unscathed. He got COVID.
I got COVID from Winnie the Pooh's viewing. This movie, I knew when. So myself, Paige, and Mark went to go see this movie because we're haha, funny. It can't.
You're the reason. You're the reason the sequel's gonna come out this year, Kobe and Paige. I hope you understand.
Okay,
it's your fault.
It made over millions of dollars because I think
this movie cost $100,000 just for context. Yeah. This is what we're talking about in terms of actual B movie.
Too much.
But but here's the thing with the $100,000 comment. Terrifier 2 is $100,000 budget, and that is how you properly do an indie horror movie.
Well, the difference is that Terrifier, as stated, Terrifier 2 is made by people who want to make movies.
Yeah, no, that's the biggest point.
Is made by, as stated, get me something on the calendar. The IP expires. It's free for anyone to use.
Yeah,
It's
like
like,
it is
we need
so
something out in
clear.
January. We want a limited release. We can pay nothing for this. Get this fucking on the slot so that we have something and the machine does not stop churning.
It is like so clear that nobody involved with the production like cared about anything like just at all, period. And
I would say they cared about the practical gore effects because some of them like
Yeah.
that's where the budget went. It was the fucking practical
the
gore
mask.
effects.
It went into the honey poo saliva / honey drip.
yeah, I suppose.
The actual honeypot.
But like like in a horror movie, right? Like in a slasher movie, which I think it's not a psychological horror, and I think the best word I could
psychological damage upon
it did. So that's true. An unintended psychological horror.
No, per the genre, this is a slasher.
Yeah, like a slasher movie, you're supposed to like one, care about the people that are being hunted, and two, like the horror. It doesn't like. You know, having fun with like the kills and stuff. Like I'm thinking in terms of like the Scream movies, where like it's fucked up that this guy's
having fun.
Right, yeah, and you do not have fun with any of the gore and murder that's going on in this movie. It's weirdly like just mean spirited in a way that like almost feels intentional, but I don't know why they would intend for it to feel that bad.
That's what I was going for. Is it? They are trying to shock value people so hard into just being repulsed. Like, it's not even just edgy. Like, oh, this is this sweet cartoon people love. It's for kids. So wholesome. And then they make it, like, edgy. This is, like, they want to offend you.
So I'm going to put...
this is not middle school edgy. This is junior year of high school edgy. This is...
like, your brain is fucked up edgy.
Yeah.
I'm going to put Conspiracy Steve. I'm going to put my tinfoil hat on.
Ooh, it's on.
I think it would be really funny if they use this as a reason why to keep public domain. Like these people are like, we need public domain, so we're gonna release the most piece of shit to show people that public domain is bad.
Kobe, you think this is an op by the mouse?
Like, yeah. Kobe's out here saying it's a psyop by.
Whoa.
Yeah,
God. The tinfoil hat on.
It made money. The page is right.
They're making more, and also. This is
funny though.
I mean, as Nick has talked about, this is just like classic like capitalism at work. Like you're just like, this isn't like how do we convince people to keep public domain alive? No, that's too high-brained for business executives.
That's true.
What tells you that this is not a ploy, this is a business executive decision, is that it exists and they were just like, fuck, I got nothing else. I gotta get something on the slate or else my boss is gonna be mad.
Yeah.
Like, I hate going back to that example, but it genuinely, like, there's not much else on the production side on the meta production side, I should say, not like the internal production of the film, but on the meta production side of the movie to say other than like, I don't know, it's a gimmick, it's a ploy. Someone thought they could make a quick buck off of this, and
they were right. They were right.
Yeah.
So I guess my question is, what do we think the sequel and Mickey Mouse Trap is gonna be like? Do we think it's going to improve at all?
No,
it's gonna be the
this
same
wasn't
thing.
even fun though. It's like maybe Mickey Mouse Trap would be more fun because it's like, who gives a fuck about the actual character of Mickey Mouse?
Wow.
I mean,
all the Steamboat Willie fans are coming to your DMs after the stream.
I don't know. I mean, Winnie the Pooh, he's like a sweet boy. He's a sweet little bear.
Have you met a Disney adult?
Yeah, that's true.
Okay, but Mickey himself. I'm not saying other characters.
I care about Mickey.
Why would you say this, Kobe?
I've never once met a person who's like a real Mickey stan.
Have you ever met once a person that's a real Winnie the Pooh stan?
Yeah. Okay, well, none of us have met a Winnie the Pooh stand before you then, so the chances of there being Mickey Mouse...
No,
like, sure, but like it wasn't like...
Winnie the Pooh?
I got too old, and then I grew up.
I'm more of a Kanga and Ruin Rabbit type of guy, but you know,
that's their cinematic universe.
I have no connection to Winnie the Pooh to care if they turned him into a horror character or not.
He's just even just watching it, like, He's just such a sweet little bear. This is
You
too
know-
far from
you know what would be the
You clearly weren't paying attention to the opening of the film, where it explains why Pooh is turned from a good bear to an
if
evil
I
bear.
would have known this movie,
The
He starved to
animatic.
death during the
I would
winter in
not watch
84.
the fucking storyboards that they just transcribed onto the film reel.
Paige, you knew what this movie was. You knew going in. Oh my god!
Okay,
it's a
I didn't
Winnie the
know
Pooh
it would
horror
make me
movie.
feel this disgusting.
But, all
I
right,
looked
okay,
at
so
it that
okay,
you're
all right.
offended and disgusted.
I actually want to break down the disgusting part, because that's the stuff that brought it down from like a 1 star to a half star for me. And this, once again, this kind of goes into, I guess I'm going to explain a little bit of reason of why I rate things 1 stars and half stars. And to get to a half star, you need to like fucking put in the fucking work. If you're a bad movie, I'm gonna give you 1 star. I'm like, look, whatever. Making a movie is hard, and I didn't like this one. It's not very good. You're Valyrian, the planet of 1,000 moons or whatever. And I go, no, thank you. That's gross. Don't like it. But they fucking made a movie. This is so clearly in a similar way to Family Switch that I have a problem with Family Switch, is that there's the greed at the core of it corrupts it so hard that like it's impossible to ignore, because you can tell that they have the framework of a slasher movie.
Yeah.
Like they know the ABC tropes of a slasher movie, but they're openly admitting that they do not understand what
they don't care about them. They are just trying to hit them as fast as possible.
Yes. That's why
to get done in a weekend.
a vapid girl who is on her phone all the time. That's why there's one girl who's the main girl who has like trauma in her past. That's why just the best friend character, like
one lady with boobs out.
Boobs out.
Yes.
Yep.
Classic.
Like the failure of that structure. The reason something like Scream can be pulled off, or any slasher movie can be pulled off, is because, as you're kind of saying, like you have an entertaining time watching this stuff happen. The movie is constructed in a way that has these tropes, but it understands the tropes to enough of an extent.
It makes you care about the characters such that when they are at risk of
or you don't even you don't have to care about the characters, but you have to be somewhat invested in either the fun or the horror of the situation the movie is putting them in. This movie does none of the legwork. It just does the checklist.
It says all
so
literally
when these horrific things happen to these people, not only do you not feel anything, you're kind of fucking upset that the movie is doing this, because anyone who hasn't even seen a slasher before will be able to connect with the idea of like, what the fuck is going on? What is happening? Why do I care? It kind of just feels like there's bad stuff happening. And then additionally, because of that lack of thought and these awful things just happening to these people without any actual work being put into it, at least for me, especially by the end, I'm like, it kind of just feels like this is like
it's like torture porn.
Someone should put this in like a violence against women ad or something. Like Jesus fucking Christ. Like, that's what really fucked me up, is that I was like, how you get to have a star is you make me fucking upset, and I was at a 1 star, and then the ending of the movie happens, which we don't have to get to yet, but like the ending of the movie happens, and so I was like, no, I'm not giving you the benefit of that anymore. Like, fuck you.
Yeah, I mean, we've already spent like 15 minutes talking about Blood and Honey. I don't have anything else to say really.
Something to say where
the gun is the stupidest thing I've ever seen.
Well, the gun's comically large, and I think that's fucking funny.
And it can only fire once.
But so I just want to give a stat and a quote from the director. This movie was shot in 10 days.
Wow.
That
world record
makes a lot of sense.
The director told the audience,
you
shouldn't be expecting this to be a Hollywood level production.
I think
it adds. I think it adds to the disingenuous nature of this project. And let me just give you one more statistic. Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey box office.
Oh, Todd. We know.
Off of the $100,000 budget, it made $5.2 million.
Oh God! We're gonna be seeing these forever.
Correct.
And with that, there was also the mean one that was released shortly before Winnie the Pooh, which was the Grinch slasher movie. Coming up, we have from the same director, Winnie the Pooh, Blood and Honey Part 2. And then we have, he's making Pinocchio Unstrung. Also set to release this year. And we also have 2 Mickey Mouse movies coming out this year. So this trend is not going to die anytime soon.
I know. The last thing I'll say, and we can move on to the next film here, is just like what you were saying, Jacob, about the legwork. I think is a good way of putting it, where literally everything about that movie is just printed on the tin. It's Winnie the Pooh, and there's blood, and there's honey.
There's honey.
And there's nothing else in there. That's all it is, and it's fucking insulting that is what is being just pushed out immediately after the thing goes into public domain. But yeah, that was my worst movie of the year. Now we can move on to Bichu and your worst movie of the year.
Blood and Honey.
What is the last thing?
When they finally showed the honey, I couldn't stop thinking about the Beekeeper trailer where the guy said honey.
Honey's
Flammable as fuck. Who knew?
Oh my god. We will come back to the Beekeeper in our 2024 review, okay? I'm sure that'll be film of the year for everybody.
It's gonna be the best movie of the year.
I know. No, that's why we're gonna talk about it. The movie of the year.
I got one more thing about Blood and Honey. The way that the movie ends is also egregious, where just Christopher Robin cares about this woman that he just met 2 minutes ago, and then the movie just cuts the black after when he is like, leave, or something like that.
Oh yeah, he speaks at the end. Spoiler alert. I forgot about that.
He left me. He says
you left me.
We had to eat Eeyore.
Yeah, Eeyore, they did have to eat Eeyore. He did. R.I.P. Eeyore.
Eeyore.
Also, wait, sorry.
Jacob, come on. We gotta move on. We gotta move on.
I swear this is the last thing. I genuinely lost my mind after the very first kill in the movie, which is Christopher Robin walks up to the 100-acre woods after we've been given the context that, I don't know, like Winnie the Pooh and friends ate Eeyore, and so now they're cannibals. Mm-hmm. And he's just like, oh boy, I'm so glad I'm back in the 100-acre woods with my fiance. I can't wait to show you all of my friends and that nothing bad will happen. And I'm like, what the fuck? Anyway, she then gets choked out by a chain, and that's what kills her for no reason. It happens over the course of like 2 seconds. It's
yep. And then we do a little bit more animatics.
Off right side of the screen, Piglet comes out of nowhere, chokes her to death, and then you're like, I guess she's fucking dead.
Yep.
I guess that's the quality we're dealing with here.
That's the movie. All right, Bichu, please give us your speech on your worst movie of the year.
Yeah. So my worst movie of the year, I guess, the worst movie I ever seen was this year was definitely Blood and Honey. But the worst movie I went out of my way to see, not for this podcast, was Lady Ballers. It's a Daily Wire film. Because they're all failed actors, so they all wanted to make their own movie, and it's your run of the mill like most offensive film, but not actually the most offensive thing. It really only strives to be just primarily transphobic and hitting a lot of the check marks for conservative talking points. The entire movie will just be like, all right, cool. What's the next conservative talking point? Vaccines are bad. Okay. What's the next conservative talking point? Trans women can't be in sports, and it's just kind of disappointing because there are dregs throughout the film where they try to capture some of the early 2000s essence, but then they pivot right back into like, fuck, we're still a fucking movie where we have to fucking get our talking points out of the way and go through the checklist. And I think the most kind of like one of the most egregious things throughout the film to me was that there's this character, I don't fucking know his name, I don't remember the names, but he was one of the first people to like do this whole like, oh, I'll pretend I'm a woman to do a women's sports thing. And there's like actual development written by the writers from Daily Wire. They kind of like give him, like he's literally having a trans awakening experience and actually going to become a trans person. And at the end of the movie, he like goes to the boss, is like, boss, I think like this is like literally me. Like I've never been like more happy in my life and stuff like that. And the only rebuttal they could do was like, your parents be so disappointed in you. Also, you have balls. And then he just kicks him in the balls, and it's like,
and that's like, it.
That's it. It's so confusing. It's because like, dude, does this movie want to be taken seriously to like as a platform for conservative talking points? It just doesn't make any sense. It's like fighting to be like, oh no, we're all just jokes and we're really offensive, but it has like one racist joke, two I think. And
There's
two.
There's one really early in the movie. I know that much at least. I don't know if there are any more after that.
With the catalytic converter.
Yeah.
I mean, so
Fuck, why don't you remind me of that?
So the funny thing about this movie, I will agree with Bijou. They claim that this is supposed to be the most offensive movie in the world, and I think I'm the only other one here that actually finished it.
Probably.
I wanted to have a full thought out opinion. I gave it a half star because so the movie they want it to be the most offensive movie in the world. I have seen early 2000 movies that are more offensive than this. Like, I will say the first Mean Girls is way more offensive than this movie. Like,
they didn't even drop any slurs. They did not drop any slurs.
This movie.
That is honestly impressive. I'm kind of impressed.
This movie is so scared of its own shadow that they can't commit to any of the bits. Like, that's the biggest issue that I experienced with this. It's like, okay, within the first 15 minutes, which is what you watched, Murky, I understand why you left, because I have a bullet point here. In the first 15 minutes, they cover masks, okay, boomer, critical race theory, transgender teachers, trans kids in bathrooms, trans people are sexual predators, and how it's not racist to ask your only black student not to steal your car. That's in the first 15 minutes, and then the movie just drops all of that. It doesn't capitalize on anything else. They just, like I said, it's so scared of its own shadow. Like, it is really meant. This movie is meant to try to spark outrage from the left, but even then, it's so bad at what it's trying to do, it just becomes a pandering, boring mess. Like, this movie is just so fucking incompetent. Like, when we talk about Winnie the Pooh being incompetent, this movie is also incompetent for many different reasons. They try to be funny,
editing.
but the editing is outrageous in this thing. It's awful, and it is honestly just these conservative people just jerking themselves off, but not realizing what they're jerking themselves off about. that is like this entire runtime, and they literally commit to nothing.
Sorry.
Well, I was just asking, would you say, with that discussion of trying to just piss off liberals, is it a movie more to jerk off, help other conservatives jerk off their own beliefs, or is it just more of a movie to piss off liberals, or is it trying to do both?
Piss off liberals.
Yeah,
it won't.
That's what I was about to bring up, which is you can tell that this movie is an abject failure in its claimed purpose.
Yeah,
because there's no fucking discussion about this movie. It came out and everyone went,
"Oh no, we're the discussion." Oh no.
Yeah, it's bad. What the fuck did you think? And then everyone went on with their day. The actual thing is that this is classic, which is, I don't know. I'm not a right-wing psychopath, so I wouldn't know. I don't have the lived experience in order to tell whether this was successful for that demographic or not. But what I can tell is it feels very much like the only way it could be successful is that it is trying to piss off a fake person that the Daily Wire has constructed, because that's the type of argument that they pander in. They create fake liberals to sell to their audience, to be like, these motherfuckers want to take away your rights or whatever, and then they're like, this lady with hair dye and no children hates you. And then they now create content when they say we want to piss that type of person off. They're creating content to piss off a person who doesn't fucking exist.
Yeah, and those are the caricatures that are portrayed throughout the movie. Also, to your point of whether or not this worked for conservatives, to give you some stats or whatnot, I did look through Letterboxd reviews to see what the higher end have to say. And it is pretty much, this movie fucking worked for the people who like the Daily Wire. That's the funny thing, is there are so many, out of the 2,000 people that fucking logged this thing, 150 actually gave it a 5-star, and the reviews are actually serious about this, which is very funny.
I think maybe being the most offensive movie maybe just actually came from their marketing team.
Yeah.
I think that whoever was making this movie was more like, I want to make a movie like that's not afraid of being offensive. But it's, I mean, they say that, but you watch a movie, just watch a movie that's like 10 plus years old.
It is the classic.
Exactly, that's the thing. Is like they're sorry for cutting you off, Nick.
Yeah.
Okay, then I'll take the mic.
You got it. I was just gonna make something quick.
It's they're like, we can't make these type of movies anymore. I, Dave Rubin, will use my intellectual acumen or to return us to a time period where we could make 2000s raunchy comedies. But because he is bad at his job, he doesn't know how to actually do that because he's not a real creative. He doesn't have creative thoughts in his noggin. And so therefore, when he tries to do that, he does a considerably worse, as we've been talking about, he does a considerably worse job than the things he wants to bring us back to, because he does not have the reason those previous pieces were offensive because they were worked seamlessly into the movie.
Yeah, they were written by funny people.
Yes. This is just like, I need to put this in the movie, and so instead of like writing a script that incorporates that into the film,
no.
She's the Man style, he just goes, I don't know, and then tries fucking fitting it into the square peg into the round hole until he's like, I don't know, just I gotta get it in here, and then like it just
I think it
like, why, what the fuck, Dave?
It also plays into like the classic conservative catch-22 of like being like, oh, we're just joking, man. Come on, it's not serious. Come on, just have a laugh about it, all right? Don't take everything so seriously. While at the same time trying to like deliver this message of like trans people are going to destroy America. You need to stop this now. And like the
problem is they don't even deliver that message.
No,
like,
they don't. I don't think they delivered any message. It was all
message they are trying to set up doesn't even work in the end, because as Bichu said earlier, the movie ends with a trans awakening, and their response is, well, your parents are going to be disappointed. Like the only thing that they are trying to do doesn't even work.
Yeah. Because they're trying to do, but I think it's because they're trying to do both, and then they like if they tried to be funny, then it got fucking destroyed by them pushing conservative talking points that suck ass, and then if they try to push conservative talking points, it doesn't work because they're also playing it like it's a joke. So they, again, like you were saying, they're scared of their own shadow and just being like, nah, it's just a joke, guys. It's just a joke. We're just making funnies here, and like it just. Everything just destroys itself in the end. But the one thing I want to ask you, Bichu, is how, like, what made it a star? I need to know why it is not a half star for you. What about it was?
I mean, like it's made. I wouldn't say competently made. Like it's made. Like Winnie the Pooh was like. I wouldn't say that was really made at all. I think that was just put together. And like
they found 2 locations and they brought a camera.
Technically, the character who was going through a trans awakening, that there's literally a character arc in that movie, despite how they end it, and which is they end it cringe. But like some characters go through some things that. And again, I did laugh at 2 jokes. I think the
jokes.
They made a Native American joke. And one of the mascots was like humping something, and one of the characters goes, "Where was he humping?" And I was like,
All right, well, folks, you've heard the 2 good jokes from this transphobic train wreck called Lady Ballers. So now you don't have to see it. But yeah, all right, that was Bichu's worst movie of 2023. Next, we will be going on to Kobe. What you got?
I got 3 words for you. Bye, bye, bye. So I have a pick known as Expendables 4.
No, that's not the name. Come on now. What's the name?
What?
That's not the name of the movie.
Expend 4 bulls.
There you go.
It looks like they really took a note from Fant 4 Stick for that naming convention.
Never a good place to take inspiration from. That was a bad sign already.
Why? Because it can't live up to a masterpiece? Is that what you're trying to do?
So here's the thing. So I will start with my thoughts. So the way I had to preface, I had seen all 3 Expendables before this one, and I watched them each when they came out. Like at the age of 10, 12, and 14. And as a teenager, I thought they were fun. I watched them with my dad. It's an old man movie. It's fun to watch.
It's a boomer movie. Yeah.
Yeah, it's just old people beating up things. It's fun, mindless slop. Yep. I decided to put on The Expendables 4 when I was on a plane ride, and holy shit, I had never been so baffled on a plane in my life as I was watching this.
Well, to be fair, you're on the opposite type of transportation.
That's true. Yeah, you needed to be on a boat.
Only viewing.
Yeah, that's a cruise viewing.
We'll get to the boat in a second. But like this movie was honestly horrendous. I stand by this is some of the worst dialogue that I've heard in ages, and I've seen Winnie the Pooh, and I think this dialogue is on par with Winnie the Pooh dialogue. The humor in this movie literally revolves around like 3 things: golden showers, sex, woman. Ha ha. That is literally this entire movie like punchline. And golden showers come into play later as an actual like they did check.
There was. I didn't even notice it until the second viewing of it.
You watched it twice?
I put it on for Jacob.
Put it on for me because I was having trouble getting it up. So I was like,
yeah.
Well, I was gonna do it myself after finding out where Nick got it from, but Nick already had it up, and he said, "Do you want me to just stream it?"
Because to be fair, I honestly was phasing in and out of that viewing like the first time I watched it because I was doing something else. Even the second time, I couldn't keep my attention on it for very long.
The movie is physically hard to pay attention to. So here's the thing, I like Sylvester Stallone a lot, but this movie was fucking, and the whole thing with Sylvester Stallone in this movie, I think, is egregious. It's seen from a fucking 20 miles away of what they're doing, and it's they're not gonna insult the viewer like this, and then they insult the viewer like this, and I'm sitting there these motherfuckers think I'm dumb. They were like,
they're
hey,
counting on you to already be asleep.
They were in the fucking writings room like this. You know what would be really good? He comes back and we're gonna fake his death. I'm like, what the fuck?
Kobe, I'm gonna let you in on a secret. They were not in the writers' room writing that. They were in the writers' room after they got the news that Sylvester was only showing up for 2 scenes in this movie, and then he was fucking out of here. They were like, we gotta find some way to get this guy out of this movie and fast.
So the screenplay aside, and how it was just kind of poorly acted, poorly shot. The one thing, that's the part I'm getting to. The shot CGI. The shot composition in this and the CGI that accompanies it is mind-boggling. This movie is on $100 million budget, and I cannot tell you where that $100 million went, because
this is Stallone's yacht that he bought while he was on the set.
This is green screen that I could do in my apartment. I could put something up right there on my bookshelf, and I could fucking film one of these action scenes if I really wanted to. It was just weird. The CGI became very distracting, and I saw Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania this year, and this CGI was very distracting.
The best CGI, the best thing that I can tell you that nobody everything was fake is that in the early scenes, and I pointed this out to Nick the first time we watched this movie, is when Sylvester Stallone comes to Jason Statham's house, there's a reverse shot where Stallone is Jason Statham's door, and then the reverse shot is through the eye hole out towards where Stallone is standing. And while I was sitting there, you're like, there's actually nothing behind him. Behind him is just a green screen. They built no set. They've done no painting. That is just so clearly the set is just the door frame. He's standing on a cutout, and then behind him is a green screen, and in front of him is nothing.
So
tell him the budget.
I want to get to a couple more points before I let everyone else loose on this movie. I did not expect that half of the. Let me look up the runtime. The runtime is 103 minutes. I did not expect an hour of that to be on a boat.
2/3 of the movie easily
is on a boat. But okay, and then here's the second thing that I want to bring up, and I'll let one of the the way when I knew this movie was really fucking special is when they started to play a 50 Cent track as 50 Cent goes in for as in world, not even overlay, in world 50 Cent is real. And then his character comes up and does shit as they're doing the many.
But he's not playing himself. He's playing a character. But 50 Cent also exists. He has a clone.
Yeah,
keep up, Kobe. It's doppelganger theory, Kobe. It's doppelganger theory. Real 50 Cent is in the world, but the character 50 Cent plays is clearly just a doppelganger of 50 Cent in that world. It's very straightforward, Kobe.
Yeah. Also, as I said, my very first line, the villain looks at one of the only Asian characters that ever pop up in this movie, whose name is Bye, and goes bye 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 and kills him. That is everyone else can have fun on Expendables.
I have some beef with this movie. I think it's the second worst movie that we have on this lineup.
Mm-hmm.
It is so many of you said, it is hard to watch. I fell asleep for I don't know how long. It felt like it was 15 plus minutes, and I was so confused because the exact same thing was still happening.
Well, I was going to say,
I
think you might be onto something, Paige, with their intended audience falling asleep for the majority of the movie. They could fall asleep around when Sylvester Stallone dies, and then they wake up when he comes back, and then you get a whole experience with Sylvester and Stallone the whole time. And so maybe that was all part of they were being geniuses, actually.
They were gas
in
the theater.
I think Sylvester Stallone is one of the stupidest people. And I think he wrote, directed, and edited this movie. The editing is so weird.
He did not write it. He did not direct it. He did not edit it.
Do you have a source for that? Are you what? You just making that up?
No, I am making it up. It's not. Hang on. I'm saying that's what it felt like.
No, he did that with the first Expendables. He wrote, directed, and edited the first Expendables.
Yeah.
Well, what I'm trying to say, this movie makes you feel like you're brain dead.
Yeah.
Every time there's a joke, it pauses several seconds after.
Waiting for the laugh track to hit that never comes. Yeah. I don't want to be this hard on Sylvester specifically, though, because he has helped direct the first two Creeds, which were good, and done other stuff that has been good in a filmmaking role other than just acting.
Sylvester hate is unwarranted. Sometimes you can't.
No,
Adam Sandler is in Uncut Gems, and then he's also in Grown Ups too. You can both these things can be true. You can rag him for the bad stuff.
Okay, example. Grown Ups 2
because
is
they're classics that he makes doesn't mean that they're good. They're stupid.
Okay.
What?
Oh, Paige.
I think what Paige is trying to say is that she hates blue collar men from Philadelphia. The hardworking
Paige,
motherfuckers.
Are you really saying Creed 1, Creed 2 is fucking stupid?
Okay, he assisted with that.
Yeah. He was behind the camera in some capacity.
Positive brain on the project.
We are discussing
good.
We are discussing a movie where, unless Kobe, you can correct me if I'm wrong, he had no he might have been a producer, I assume, but he wasn't didn't have any actual behind the camera roles.
He was no producer.
And versus movies. Yeah. Versus.
I think he was actually. I'm just saying, it makes me feel like that from everything else I've seen from him. I feel like his influence seeps around.
I think you just hate Sylvester.
I think you just hate Sylvester Stallone.
Yeah, what the fuck did Sylvester
No, I do like him sometimes. I just think that he also. I think this is him at his worst. Yeah, I think this is him at his worst. I
mean, I don't know. I don't disagree with that. It is him at his worst.
6 minutes. It's no. There's other things, but
he
he's in it for
started the
6
series,
minutes.
right? You just said he's the founder of it, so
yeah, sure.
They're just trying to find the criminal behind this.
We're all trying to figure out who did this. We're all trying to figure it out.
The characters they introduced 5 characters, new characters, and you don't know a single thing about them.
Oh yeah, no, it is so funny, getting introduced to the Expendables crew, for this movie, and so clearly understanding that they are scraping the bottom of the barrel of whoever they could get to show up on set at this point, because they had actual classic 80s movie stars showing up in like the first one or two. I think even in the third. I don't remember exactly who was in the third one, but like
also had a lot of bangers.
Yeah,
Well,
the fourth movie.
It's been 10 years since that first one came out. Over 10
right?
years, and
Yeah.
So some of those guys could not be in movies anymore.
I know, but like 50 Cent is there. Megan Fox is there, and like we talked about this during fucking Jacob's viewing of it. Like I thought she was done with these exploitation movies, but I guess a paycheck's a paycheck.
If you remember what I said when that happened, I said the divorce with Machine Gun Kelly really fucked her up. That's all I can say.
Well, she got married. I don't think it was the divorce. I think it was the getting with him in the first place.
That's understandable. If it was the Machine Gun Kelly music for 12 years, I'd also go insane.
And then literally everyone else on that team I had. Fucking Jason Statham's there, but like other than
what I'm going to say, and you can take me out to the town square, you can lock me up, I don't care. I think Jason Statham is carrying all of the charisma.
Yes, because
the only ounce of charisma that this movie has is in Statham. And that is just because Statham is a naturally charismatic bald man. He's a bald king, and we must stand him for that.
I think he's a fake charismatic guy. It does not pull through for me. I feel like he's trying too hard to be charming.
When the system fails, he's out there defending the hive, okay?
Stop! We gotta stop with the fucking the beekeeper discussion. We're not turning this into a beekeeper podcast.
It's Fast and Furious, so like,
yeah, come on.
Yeah, there's better bald men in those series, so.
Vin Diesel might be getting canceled. Yeah.
Well, we knew that was coming.
Damn.
No, he's not. He's better than Vin Diesel. Vin Diesel, he just looks at the camera and he mumbles and he walks away.
He's also Groot.
He's also Groot. That's true.
That is true.
Groot.
I would agree with Jacob though. I think like I'm not gonna say Jason Statham saved
I'm
this
not
movie.
saying it's good.
But he was doing
that. When I was watching it, I was like, the person who's given me something in this movie is Statham. He has some amount of like emotional investment in what's going on,
right? Because like everyone else was giving negative energy. Like Stallone wasn't there, and then every other character is just nothing, or less than nothing.
Jacob's out here saying Jason Statham could do what Keanu Reeves couldn't.
Am I saying that? I don't think so. Because I defend Keanu Reeves in Bram Stoker's Dracula, a performance everyone doesn't like. I just think that he's bringing stuff to that performance, just like Jason Statham brings to his performance.
I know.
In the fourth Expendables film,
all right,
sequel to Expendables 3.
Expendables. Yes. All right. Unless you got any last comments, I think we're good to move on to our next pick.
Honestly, my biggest problem with Expendables. Look, I did not hate Expendables as much as everyone else, but I think that's because some of the cons you guys brought up were pros for me, where there was a period of the movie where I looked away and then looked back for maybe, I don't know, some amount of time. And then I was like, cool, I didn't miss anything. This is great. It doesn't matter.
None of it matters.
The difference between Expendables, this is why I understand why some people gave Expendables a half star. But like the difference between Expendables and Blood and Honey is that Expendables, as stated, I can shut my brain off. Blood and Honey makes me mad to the extent that I have to be
makes me mad actively. Yeah.
Yeah, this is boring. Blood and Honey is maddening.
Yeah. All right.
Let's be clear. Blood and Honey is also boring, just in a different way that makes it so that you can't look away from its boringness.
Yeah,
it does get very boring.
The last thing I just remembered was that part of this whole being on the boat for the majority of the movie thing was that they kept trying to find new ways to like do basically the same thing on a boat repeatedly, and so pretty much it's all just kind of
juicing that boat for all it's got. Okay,
like mostly lame, sometimes half decent, like choreographed fight scenes, and then at some point they brought out motorcycles and like
with guns on them.
With guns on the motorcycles, but the boat, it's like a shipping boat, but it's not like a massive like container cargo ship, right? Like it's a medium to like medium large-ish boat. But whatever the size of it, these motorcycles were going like 15 miles an hour tops to like maneuver around everything on the boat, and just like they were trying to be like, this is so cool, look at this high speed chase going on a boat.
I think
it
that was
didn't work at all.
Away at actually.
Well, you didn't miss anything because it was lame as hell. So yeah, that
sucks.
Yeah,
Bad CGI.
yeah.
Every day it slipped further
Writing.
away in my brain until I forget it completely.
Someday it'll be completely gone, and then we'll be living that much happier. Yeah, we'll be that much happier for it. But yeah, next we have Jacob. What is your worst movie of the year?
Hey everybody, I'm glad we could get here. I know that some people thought this was like, just regular bad. But no, Family Switch fucking sucks. It's stinky. It is the epitome of not even a cash grab. Blood and Honey is a cash grab. Blood and Honey I can actually justify with inside my head. Mm-hmm. Like if there's
logic that makes sense.
Me, but there's logic behind the existence of Blood and Honey. Mm-hmm. A very well-known intellectual property came back on the market to use. People used it in order to generate a quick buck. Yeah. That's understandable. What the fuck is anyone doing in Family Switch? What the fuck are they thinking? What are they like?
They're making a Christmas movie, Jacob. They just love Christmas.
On the front of Netflix, and bored families who don't know what to watch with their kids will fucking click it. And it'll play.
Okay, I don't care what people who should be lobotomized want to watch on Netflix. Like those motherfuckers.
They'll be lobotomized after the movie.
They get lobotomized by the movie.
This is a movie. So let me. So I was talking about this earlier. When I first watched this movie, I genuinely could not look at the screen. I was physically, my body, like a bacteria trying to enter me, was rejecting it. It was physical pain to watch because it's not just not funny. It's like offensively not funny, and not in the way that Blood and Honey or Lady Ballers is offensive. It is, I mean, I guess a little bit like Lady Ballers in that who the fuck is in the script room? Who's writing a joke thinking that this is a joke? Who wrote this? Why is there no structure to it? Why do we jump from like an innocuous conversation to one of the largest high school soccer matches I've ever seen in my life?
Oh my god!
What? Yeah.
I didn't even think about that. Yeah. And at that point, so much other shit had happened that didn't even cross my mind. You're so right, though. Why was that game so big?
What is this conflict?
Rita Moreno giving a very racist accent.
Correct. Rita Moreno. So this is another thing. In terms of like movies that offend me, blatant racism is a pretty easy way to make me feel quite offended quite quickly. But the wild thing is once again, who is cooking in the kitchen? They have Rita Moreno, one of the greatest actresses of all time, come into this movie to do a racist. She plays both the store owner in the new West Side Story. She's also in the old West Side Story. She's also in 80 for Brady, modern masterpiece.
But in the movie, she plays like the witch.
Oh, she plays the
witch.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yes.
And so that's the thing is when you see Rita Moreno, you go, oh no, if I know anything about what type of movie this is, she's going to do a racist accent. And then she does, but not the one you were fucking expecting. They have this Hispanic lady do a Romanian racist accent for no fucking reason. It makes no sense. I'm not saying it would have been more acceptable if she did a, racist Hispanic accent. But what I'm saying is why do we have, if you didn't want her to have a racist accent that was reminiscent of her accent, then I don't know, maybe just don't fucking have to do a racist accent. Maybe just fucking avoid that part. Like, it's so uninteresting. It's so blatantly a ripoff of other movies. But what really fucking pissed me the fuck off is that this movie blatantly tells you that it is not a.
Yep.
Unlike, once again, Blood and Honey is ripping other things off. Mm. But it never there's a scene in Family Switch where they try and lampshade it by making like, haha, it's like the other movies as a joke. But no, they just list off clearly all the other movies that they watched in preparation for making this movie to steal directly from, because it makes no sense within the context of the film why things are happening, other than the fact we saw it in this other movie that was successful. We are algorithmically stealing it from this. Like, fucking put this thing in the fucking H Bomber Guy video. I'd take on another fucking hour. Come on, motherfucker. This shit is like offensively like a hack job. Like, there's a scene for no fucking reason where Jennifer Garner, the daughter in Jennifer Garner's body, falls down a staircase, and they just hold on Jennifer Garner's ass for like a solid half second.
Big
And
booty
like,
Judy.
What the fuck? What the fuck, what the hell?
Pickles is Miles.
And we haven't Pickles is Miles, and we haven't
Miles is Pickles.
And this is why I continue to contend that this movie is the worst movie of the year, because I've just spent the last fucking several minutes ranting about this movie for contextual things that are outside of the other problems this movie has. Because we haven't even got to the part where this movie just is like, guys, there was no way around it. We had to include the incest subtext. We were tied up in a corner. We had no.
It was unavoidable.
They held a gun to our heads. We had to include the incest subtext.
I feel like I thinking back, I don't remember incest.
The
whole movie is incest.
Yes. First off, the brother and sister wake up in their parents' beds and both think that they are sleeping in the bed with the other one. First off, already what? That's all. You guys didn't fucking think about this one. Secondarily, there's the scene where they make the brother and sister kiss.
They do, yeah.
In the mom and dad's bodies.
Oh, yes.
And there's also the scene happening conjointly to that where the brother and the mom and dad in the brother and sister's bodies are at a high school party where they're reconnecting with their romance in their children's bodies. And no one went,
people in the party are like
fucking weird. The people in the party are also saying that. I fucking forgot about that.
The people in the party are like, oh, we never seen that. This
the parents are like, oh, we need to hang out more. We need to spend more quality time together. It's like you're enjoying your scenario right now.
They're enjoying their scenario right now. It doesn't make sense within the fucking plot of the movie. The plot of the movie is the parents and the kids are having this weird fight. But even then, the movie is not fucking original enough to come up with an actual disagreement for these people to have. Because they just tell you, they're like, I think mom is too uptight. Well, I don't think that you're uptight enough. But it's never reflected within the film. So there's like one conversation between parent and child, which is innocuous to real conflict. There's not even really any real blow up. And then after that scene, they go to the Griffith Observatory and act like, yeah, this family just fucked up, man. They're fucking crazy.
I would disagree in the way where the mother and daughter have at least, the mother does not want the daughter to do soccer as a career. She wants her to go to college. I would say that is the only actual familial conflict within the movie.
That's the closest one to working, but I still don't think they communicate that in a way, because basically what happens is that's communicated by the mom walking in the room one time and she's like, I told you to pick this up. Also soccer. And then like she's like, Mom, I want to do tryouts, and she's like, I don't know if you're old enough for that. But it's never like a you can't do that. It's a it felt much more like a let's have a conversation about this, which is like, if this is a let's have a conversation about this family, I feel like that's a much more well-rounded family than the family you're trying to depict in this movie.
Oh no, they were actually a very well-rounded family.
Yeah. Like it just
very
there's no
parents.
There's no stakes. There's no stakes. It's just like they try to set up the most bare bones level of like, here is a conflict without actually setting it up, and then they don't even get around to resolving it because it's kind of not there, and also they need to spend more time ripping off all the other movies that they saw.
Yeah.
There's this weird amount of like privilege inside the sorry for cutting off, but like there's this weird amount of privilege inside the writer's minds of like, yeah man, my childhood was so rough. Sometimes my mom didn't let me try out for the U.S. women's world soccer team. And you're like, hey, man, like other people got fucking problems. You live in a mansion in Los Angeles. Shut the fuck up.
Yeah, no, the thing about this movie is that the only the conflict is circumstantial to them having this switch is because all of them are even the dad, all of them are so talented and privileged.
Yes.
And it just so happens that this switch is happening on the day where everybody's
all of
most
their
important
life
day of their
events.
life is
Yeah.
happening. One of them has a Yale interview as a fucking freshman. One of them's trying out to the national soccer team. The mom's like some fancy lawyer salesman, and then the dad was gonna play for Maroon 5. Like, what the fuck? I mean, now he's just a high school teacher.
And literally how you just listed that, they at breakfast list off all of those things in that like order. Basically, they just tell you,
yeah,
here's the whole movie, guys, right here.
I think the worst part is that this movie is feature length.
Yeah, it is a painful.
It was like 90 minutes.
It's a painful 90 minutes. Yeah. It goes on forever.
I just want to give a couple context to this movie. One, the director made Terminator Salvation.
He did. This is McG. This is a McG production. I forgot.
He also directed a movie called This Means War, which is the movie that almost single-handedly destroyed rom-coms forever.
Wait, was Terminator Salvation the good one or the bad one?
No, bad.
It's the really bad one.
The one that's set in the war in the future.
So I also think it's very fascinating how this movie has a 2.4 on Letterboxd. It's a lot higher than I honestly expected it to be.
It's because people give this movie the benefit of the doubt. They're just like, it's a silly family like rom-com. It's like it's like Freaky Friday, and I'm like, no, motherfucker, Freaky Friday is like an actual movie with a script and people trying to do things in it. This is this is less than a cash grab. As you were saying earlier, this is a content I think that the term like Netflix content churn gets thrown out too much. Like, yes, there are bad movies, but sometimes Netflix is actually trying to they have a stupid stringent, like, we're doing specific things that I think are stupid, but that's just me. I understand sometimes they are trying to give money to people that they want. This is an actual like content
churn. Yeah.
Like,
we need more Christmas movies. Yeah, we need more Christmas movies in our Christmas categories. We need something that is a new Christmas movie in our Christmas category. So it'll come out this year and it'll be a Christmas movie.
So thinking about what a movie is.
About the content farm schlop. That I think that is very well substantiated. I've seen another film with Ed Helms, also a Netflix exclusive, that is very much a like fits the fucking bar for matches the bar for we're just trying to release movies to have like content out. It's called Coffee and Kareem.
That sounds familiar.
Also probably I'm pretty sure it plugs in Elon like this movie does for some reason. Elon's a smart.
Is there like do they just have like a salaried scriptwriter that also just loves to jerk off Elon and then wrote both these movies?
Earlier this year, Bichu and I watched fucking Moonfall. And Moonfall and Family Switch have the same thing in common, which is it dick rides Elon a lot for some reason that he has to be. I think Elon's probably like funding Netflix or like giving some money to be like, hey, can you just like throw my name around?
I don't know, man.
I think once again, I think you're putting your tinfoil hat on too much. And I think it's much simpler. And I think kind of going back to this sort of privilege stuff we talked about earlier, is I think that there are these people who have connections within the industry and they are part of the content generation machine. And those people are connected because they come from privileged, wealthy families. They're the type of person who thinks that the conflict in the family switch is a real conflict.
Yeah.
And like, not to typecast people, but those motherfuckers are the type of people who go around being like, guys, I know he's a rabble-rouser, but Elon, he's gonna change the world.
He's really changing the system. He's shaking things up in the best way, guys.
Also, so I gave this movie a 1. It was very much teetering on 1 and 1.5 throughout the runtime, but I ended on a 1. I just think, and now on my scale, that is a horrible movie. I think the thing that really got me at the end is, fucking girls start complaining about a cluttered Minecraft server, and I'm like, why are you complaining about that? Give me all the goods. Like, what's wrong with you?
See, I think it's even simpler than all of those theories. Like, even talking about like what you just said is, I think they put trending words into the script.
You're right.
Mm-hmm.
That's all they did. I don't think there's any kind of conspiracy. They just Minecraft, like they put just random trendy things that people
the fucking holographic Charizard Pokemon card.
Exactly.
Yeah.
See,
oh
they
my
just
god.
fucking random things.
Chekhov's Pokemon card.
Yeah. Well, they sign
themselves.
sign out of their Google account on YouTube, and they look at what the trending page looks like for on somebody that's not logged in, and they're like, all right, we'll take these things, we'll put all these buzzwords in the movie. That makes so much fucking sense, actually.
Yeah, that must have been what they do. And then they call up every celebrity who hasn't had a show in a while. Literally half of this cast. I don't know if you guys have seen Mindy Kaling's show, The Mindy Project.
I heard that was bad.
Huh?
I heard it was bad.
No, it's a great show.
Well, we'll see.
Anyways,
I've not heard good things about it.
Anyways, half of the cast is in this movie.
I mean, I feel like
hey, a paycheck's a paycheck at the end of the day.
Was the Mindy Project? Who produced the Mindy Project?
Mindy Kaling.
I mean, other than Mindy Kaling, Mindy Kaling.
What's his name? You'll recognize a lot of the people.
But it does have a lot of connections with Netflix because I think that was. I mean, it was a Fox show, but it was one of those that I think took off on Netflix.
Really? I think it was on Hulu. No, it was a Hulu. It's a Hulu show.
Oh,
it's
shit, you're right.
I'm just looking.
Oh, Hulu original. You're right.
I'm so good. Damn.
Family Switch began production in February of 2023, so it took 8 months for this movie to come out.
That does not surprise me.
That's a fucking turnaround.
That's a lot of time to get
also
out of Miles.
Yes, exactly. Pichu is now bringing up the one thing we cannot
ignore. Can't ignore it.
We cannot ignore. Pickles is Miles, and I don't know about you. I'm starting to think that Miles might be Pickles. And secondarily, I know. Look, everyone on here was roasting. Everyone on here was roasting Expendables 4 for its CGI, but I contest. Expendables 4 has more bad CGI.
Yeah,
I'll give you the quantity argument, but on a quality scale, I'm sorry.
No, I got fucking war flashbacks. I got war flashbacks to the Son of the Mask.
That shit, that's Geneva Convention. Send them to the Hague. Like, what the fuck, man, are you doing out here?
I honestly think there should be an award to have a worse baby than Twilight's baby, and this was like the Twilight's baby looks miles better than this one because
Pickles.
No, Kobe. As a Twilight expert, a Twilight lover to my fucking core for my whole fucking life.
Paige,
I have never seen a baby more uncanny, more terrifying than fucking Renesmee.
I'll give you.
Hang on. Let me just jump in. Here's the thing. The Twilight baby only has its face CGI. This is a full body rig that they did for Family Switch. That is why I'm saying it is worse, because it's not just one area that is worse. There is an actual creature underneath that face.
There's a demon.
That's kind of what I wanted to bring up because, Paige, I will give you that Renesmee, and look, you're currently in a newly reformed Twilight fan.
He's seen the light.
Have much contact.
He's seen the new dawn.
I saw the light.
I'm happy for you.
New Moon fucking rules. I'll tell you what. I keep going around trying to tell people. I keep trying to go around and tell people New Moon fucking is actually banger.
Yeah.
But I digress. Renesmee, correct, is straight into the uncanny valley.
Yeah.
But my argument is that the Baby and Family Switch is not as uncanny valley as the baby in Twilight. That's because it never entered the canyon at all. It's trapped on the outskirts, being like, am I a demon? What's going on?
That's fair. Yeah. Especially because you do have the prosthetic though. Renesmee does have practical effects as well that makes it even more uncanny. But you don't see her move around that much.
Yeah.
This one, you are like a demon.
Yeah,
that is a demon job in that body rig.
Yeah.
Now I will say I do have the image of Miles Miles as Pickles peeing into the baby toilet seared into my brain. That's there forever now.
Yeah, that's there forever. And in spite of
Jacob,
I did like how the watcher reacted, the babysitter. I liked him.
I was saying we've totally forgot about the babysitter just being there.
He's the only one that
I think Jason Statham is bringing something to Expendables for the babysitter and Family Switch. He's the only one bringing anything to that movie.
I can
also why does Ed Helms keep singing in every feature he is in?
Because he really wishes he had a singing career. He really wishes he had a singing career.
He actually it's a little bonus feature note here. He was the one that put in the idea of having him be like auditioning for Maroon 5 and his character in that movie, because he actually just wanted to do that in real life, but they didn't, take him. I'm making that up, but I believe it.
This is sort of the thing when you watch a movie like this, especially, it's when you watch Blood and Honey or Expendables, you're like, I understand why some of these people are in this movie. This to some extent, I guess I can understand some of the people in this movie being in this movie, but it is genuinely one of these things where I'm like, why are you here?
Money.
Why?
Because there's a paycheck being offered.
Are you here?
Netflix gave them the Netflix bag.
Yeah.
You can get the Netflix bag, but there are other bad Netflix projects to be in. They got plenty of that shit.
A lot of them are just this bad.
Yeah, I think they just took what was offered to them. They're just like, okay, you need me for this movie. I guess my schedule's free at this part of the year or whatever. So yeah, I'll do it. It's a good paycheck. I can keep paying off my fucking mansion's mortgage with this.
It's true, but like, I guess that's the thing. Like, I guess maybe the bag is big enough and Netflix still holds enough sway, but and even though, Jennifer Gardner and Ed Helms do not have a great recent track record, they are actors. They've been in things. They've been in movies that have scripts and ideas. And it just kind of baffles me that it's like the engine continues to keep chugging along. Like, no matter what, no matter how many times they're like, guys, we're on the fucking brink. We gotta fucking raise the subscriber cost. We gotta do fucking anything. The shareholders are gonna fucking kill us. They always find a little piggy bank behind the couch, and they're like, fucking crack this one open for good old Ed Helms. Get him back on set. We gotta do another one, baby.
But before we move on, just kind of going off that, Netflix is the most wild streaming service to me because they put out shit like this, and then they put out David Fincher's The Killer, and it's like, oh wow, you're giving me like a banger of a movie, and you give me this. They're so.
Netflix does put out some really good stuff, like Blue Eye Samurai too.
But but that's the thing. That's Netflix's model. They are not in.
They flood the field.
Still some people, I'm sure there's still some people at Netflix who see this as a worthwhile endeavor. What a lot of people see Netflix as is content. They do not see these movies as movies. They see it as content to put it on the platform, which is, if there's anything brain rotting enough in Hollywood, it's that there are a lot of executives who now see that as what movies are. It's content. You put it in the grinder. I do not care about the quality of this content. I just need more shit for the grinder. If there's a big director attached to it, cool. That means I can sell the slop at a higher price. Yeah. But other than that, it's still. I think that there are Netflix executives who see The Killer and Family Switch, and they're like, "There's no difference between these. These are two products that we sell on our service, and it does not matter because it gets subscribers in the door."
Well, see, they're not even. But the thing is, they maybe started off with good ideas. Netflix, their business model is bad at this point. They don't even like big shows. They just dump all at once. Like they I don't know. They don't know what the fuck they're doing over there at this point.
They are flooding the field with shit, and sometimes the shit is good. Sometimes the shit is bad.
More money though. There are things they actively do, like cancel really popular shows, like that makes no business sense.
I mean, they're not as egregious as HBO Max at this point, but we're gonna move on to.
Well, if I was on a train being run by a blind deaf conductor, I would be safer than being on a train with David Zaslav. Like that's
All right, but Family Switch, that's Jacob's worst movie of the year. It's my favorite holiday movie of the year because I laughed at 3 jokes in it, so can't really see eye to eye with you on it being your worst pick. But
sorry, because you just brought this up, people, please, we gotta have higher standards for holiday movies. I know there's a couple classics that are perennial, and look, I love watching a good Hallmark movie every year, but we cannot be going around being like, this shit's a classic. We gotta like fucking slow down, and we gotta
listen. I will say this: you could go watch The Holdovers if you want.
Yeah, we just got The Holdovers.
The Holdovers, you motherfuckers, in the wrong fucking. You came onto the wrong fucking street. Holdovers is pandering and boring. I'll fucking say it.
All right. another discussion for another time. We're not
The
talking about
70s
the
were
holdovers here.
bad.
We-
The holdovers needs to admit that the 70s were bad. They stink. I don't want to go
But
back.
he smells
They're trying
like
to take me
fish.
back there.
What are you talking about? It's gonna
All right.
That's
I'm
what they
taking
call character
executive
development in the
control.
70s. They're like, this
Jacob,
guy
I am
sucks, this
taking
is great, and
executive
I go,
control. No more
he sucks.
holdovers. No more holdovers. We are talking about Paige's worst movie of the year.
Holdovers isn't boring. I just
Page's
didn't
worst
like
movie
it
in
very much.
the year
It's
is
fine.
fake.
Let's get into it. Paige, what is your worst pick of
This would be
2023?
spicy.
My worst pick of the year is Beau's Afraid. I would have
pick.
my first just okay. Just everybody be quiet. Let me throw
Yep.
some
Do
words in
your
there.
spiel.
Well, firstly, I would have chosen Blood and Honey.
Yeah. Okay. You're right.
I
Yeah.
would've
We were
chosen
trying.
Blood
We
and
all wanted to make
But-
distinct picks. So yeah.
But Beau, okay. Firstly, a lot of why I hate Beau. Okay, let me get into it. I wrote a
You got this.
paragraph.
Oh, she's got the script. She's got her own script. Let's go.
I got it right.
Fuck, I
Okay.
should have written a script.
Where's my
So-
pitch, Jake? I asked for it.
So this movie is supposed to be. We are watching the world through Beau's eyes. Okay, but this movie, you don't get the solidity of being in reality, like concretely, in any point in this movie. So, what you're watching is basically just confusing nonsense for 3 hours.
That's the point.
That's the point.
That's not fun to do.
That's the point.
No. Because
Interesting.
if you
Paige
do
is
not
discounting my anxiety. That's very interesting. Very
Listen,
interesting,
listen.
Paige. Very
You-
ableist of you.
Yes. I
Oh my gosh, she admitted!
I'm discounting your score that you fucking gave this movie to. You cannot connect with Beau as a character as much if you do not understand what is reality and what is not reality, because then you can't connect it to what we're actually supposed to
Let
be
her cook,
learning
Jacob. Let her
about.
cook.
I'm letting her
Let me
cook. I'm letting her cook.
What?
I'm letting her cook.
This-
Okay. How am I okay. You start this movie off.
Mhm.
I was entertained the first 2 locations. In his apartment, I was like, okay, some sense of reality shifts going on, whatever, right? Like his anxiety, yeah. I'm getting the point. I got the point right away. The second scene comes on at the family's house. I am fucking confused out of my fucking gourd. Like I said, if you do not have that reality, it gets boring. Not only that, is how am I supposed to see how his reality has been affected by the things his mother has done and all of the different experiences we keep on seeing if I don't even know what's real or what is his figment of his imagination? How am I supposed to connect those together? You can go off.
Okay, so
I want to go next because I feel like I'm the most middle of the road with this movie.
I gave it a 5 out of 10. I'm also very middle of the road on
I
it.
gave it a 6 out of 10, and I think I will give it a higher score on our rewatch.
You guys fucking
I
suck.
I totally disagree with everything you just said because that is like Beau is Afraid. I'm gonna read exactly what I wrote. Beau is Afraid is a 3-hour movie that takes the classic hero's journey and puts an absurd, surrealist spin on it that will leave many confused and most likely hating what they saw. But there's no question that this movie has the same, I'm going to say the same kind of DNA as Synecdoche or other surrealist works.
Which you fucking hated. You hated fucking Schenectady.
Yeah, because Synecdoche actually does suck, but this actually has semblance to it. I think there is much to love about this movie, and I think there is some things to dislike, but I think that is the intended design of it. Aster created a playground where he clearly has a message that he wants to say, and it is given. But I think where you are having some of the disagreements with it is it may be smothered under other layers that make it hard to consume at many points throughout the film. Because
Yeah.
I think so. Where this is, and Jacob alluded to it earlier, which is funny, but if you talk to someone who has mommy issues, who is Jewish or other things, they fucking connect with this movie a lot. There is a lot of subtext here to connect to, and there is a lot of scenes that hit very well. I am the belief first act is fine, second act is tedious. That third act is fucking phenomenal in this movie. That's what bumped it up for me. And I think the symbolism that was used throughout the sequences here is amazing. And I think what ties this whole movie together is the animation sequence where it completely fucking explains like what the point of this movie is.
It does not matter. You can connect to a scene in a movie. That doesn't mean it's getting the message coherently across throughout the 3 fucking hour long
as
runtime.
Jacob said, it is a nightmare. You are living a nightmare. The whole movie is structured as you are in a dream. You are living in Bo's nightmare, and it is his anxieties that are making the world around him feel fucking weird and doesn't make sense. Because if you have dealt with anxiety, you know that nothing makes sense when you're in that moment. Like, it is, your mind is putting everything to the nth degree. And that is what that movie is. It is putting everything to the nth degree where it doesn't make sense. Because that is what anxiety does to someone.
Okay, but you can't have that for 3 hours.
Okay, Paige, I'm not gonna lie. Your argument just sounds like a skill issue. Like that you are just
No, oh my fucking God.
Jacob, you muted yourself, bro.
Because like I think that's bad. The course is laid out for you. I completed the course. Jacob could complete the course, but you couldn't complete the course.
No, I fucking completed the course. I've watched the video. I went out of that movie understanding the messaging it was telling me.
You just said you couldn't connect with the person.
No,
Connecting and understanding are 2 different things. I'll agree with Paige on that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna jump in and I talked about this with Kobe, and I'm gonna defend Paige and Kobe a little bit. This movie, and this is what I almost liked about it more. Ari Aster does not give, in my opinion, a fuck about whether the audience
he doesn't.
is like comfortable watching this movie. Why this movie works for me is because I'm watching the movie and without being able to fully express to words exactly how I feel about it, it is like a beyond, at times beyond true expression about how I myself feel within the world sometimes. And that's not going to work if you don't, kind of what you were saying earlier. If you don't feel that way, you're not going to connect with the movie as much. And I think, once again, I think that's partially intentional. I don't think Ari Aster is trying to ease, he's not doing any of the normal legwork a movie does of trying to ease the audience in, kind of like what you were saying, Paige. If your brain doesn't already malfunction like this, it's very hard for you to understand like, what the fuck? Why is he like having a dream halfway through? Like, why is everything so dreamlike? And what I'm trying to get at is like, I'm gonna kind of push back on something Kobe said earlier, which is like, it's not a nightmare, it's not a dream. This is how
reality.
Is reality. It's not about like a false reality that he is constructing. It is how he is interpreting everything around him. Yeah. When he is in the city, I'm like, fuck, man. Yeah.
When I say nightmare, I'm quoting Ari Aster when he said it's a nightmare-fueled fest.
Okay,
it is nightmare. I mean, his thoughts are nightmare fuel. Like,
yes,
yeah,
because of his internal self-doubt and anxieties about the world, constructed by the person he is supposed to trust to make him feel safe. Mm-hmm. It creates this dichotomy of like, I can't fucking. Everything's going to go wrong and I can't trust myself to do it. I can't trust the world around me to be safe in order to fix it. And like, I am both a failure, but also the world around me is evil. And I am incapable of surviving in that world. And also that world is trying to kill me at all costs. And it is this feeling that I vibe with all the fucking time. When he loses his keys and then takes the pills and the water gets shut off, I'm like, oh my god, he's me for real, having a panic attack, being like, I swallowed the pills without the water, I'm going to die right now.
Yeah, and then he goes to the
going
fucking
across the
store.
street,
Yeah,
not having the card work, and then not having enough cash, and being like, this man is gonna fucking kill me. I'm gonna die here right now.
and the man playing it up too, of being like, I'm going to call the police and get you fucking thrown in jail forever. Fuck you.
The anxiety of walking home at night and being like, there is going to be the anxiety of walking home at night and not being back in like the safe space of where you live, of being like, there's a guy who's definitely going to fucking come and kill me right now if I don't get home this instant. And then like he does these very specific things of like, when you have when your mind is working like this, you are doing things in order to prevent the worst outcome, and via both bad luck and your attempts to prevent the worst
a self-fulfilling prophecy occurs.
It fucking happens anyway.
Yeah.
You don't have your keys, so you try your best to like just crack the door open a little bit so no one else notices something bad happening. And then the literal worst thing happens. The thing that is your worst fucking fear, the reason you didn't have your keys, so you didn't want to leave your apartment to like, because people could get in because you can't lock up. So as a result, you're worried about people breaking down the door. So you take your medication. You don't have the water in order to take your medication. But you don't have any water in the house because all the water in the house is gone, or the faucet doesn't work. Fuck. All right, now I have to check, am I going to die? All right.
Yeah.
I can't risk dying by not taking the water, so I have to go outside. Because I go outside, I no longer can wash my apartment. If I'm doing that, I'm going to need to do something in order to prevent other people from getting into my house. But because I had the panic attack already, it's already fucking done. Because I took the pills without thinking about the water because I was having a panic attack. And so I didn't know how
this is like part of the sequence, like in the this is all the first act sequence, and it is like, I think we are all in agreement that that's probably like a lot of our
and look, don't worry, I got a whole fucking thesis on this.
I understand, but we gotta keep this going.
Bo was afraid love section.
This is a Bo is I'm about to fucking make out with
counterpoint. It's not really a counterpoint. I guess more of like a point of contention with like your opening statement page. It's just that the idea that if the narrator is unreliable, it automatically means the film can't really be enjoyed. I think, have you never watched the movie?
That's not what she's saying.
What I'm saying is all the things that Jacob just, like, all these things that we just said are a good thing about the movie. But I'm saying, even if you relate to this, and hey, even if you understand all that, even if you can relate to anything, it is still a movie. You have to be able to you have to be able to get some sense of reality to know that what the stakes are and
where the character's going.
This world is so weird. We don't even know what's true and what's not true. So we can't see how far he has gone.
My argument is that this is the and maybe it's just because I'm connecting with it on a personal level, and so I'm making my own connections based off my own experiences and filling in the gaps within my own mind that were not filled in by the director, and therefore I'm giving it the benefit of the doubt. But genuinely, watch this movie. I am able to, the reason I connected with so much is because I am able to tell what is reality is not reality while watching it, because I go, oh yeah, this is how my brain works. I understand what Bo is like.
But even big things like I don't even think he ever went to that family's house.
Let me approach this a different way. So
he definitely went to that family's house. I don't know what you're talking about.
Where he didn't. Like one was the nurse and one was the surgeon, and he imagined it all.
That I have a different way to approach your point page. I don't think the ability. Let me rephrase that. The ability to discern what is real, what isn't, what is like fake. Jacob is able to, like, from his point of view, is able to say, "Oh, I live like this forever."
It's an abstraction of reality.
And he's able to view the movie in that kind of lens. But the way I see it is that it's kind of like a game that the director and you, the audience, are playing. and he's basically setting up this maze for you to walk through and try to piece it together. And whether you have the tools equipped to figure it out, where Jacob and I kind of do, with the mommy issues and stuff like that, you don't necessarily have the tools. And I think just because you don't have the tools to understand definitively, in your opinion, whether it's real or not, makes the film bad. Because another film that kind of does this is The Thing, where at the end of the film, it's
no spoiler. I haven't seen it.
Okay. Well,
it's like fucking 30 years old, Toby.
Interpretation of what's going on, and I love when directors kind of like pass the baton to you.
I don't know.
A better example, A better example is Total Recall.
Total
Recall is
that's a great example too.
Total Recall is great.
Total Recall is a movie designed around someo's inability to discern what is reality and what is fiction.
Okay,
but
make this movie fucking shorter then. Make this the director's cut.
Yeah,
because if you're gonna have just nonsense going on for 3 hours.
I think this is where I'm in the most agreement with Paige here. I can see what this film is trying to bring to the table with the anxiety, the most brought to reality example of every worst thing possible happening to this one person who has extreme anxiety as a baseline, and it's all because there's this whole machinations with the mommy issues that is actually behind the whole thing in the end, and it that's how it. I'm thinking the character arc of Bo, and it's him starting out already paranoid and fucking filled with anxiety, and then everything just keeps going to shit for him, right? And he goes out, and then it kills him at the end of the movie, right? He has this revelation that it's his mom behind everything, and he's just
such a good ending.
That is literally the worst thing that could happen to him because it's the person he trusted, that he thought he could trust, and he knew, even though he was starting to
he knew not to trust her.
He knew not to trust her. This is the thing.
But he wanted to, deep down.
All that stuff is good, but whatever.
I want to peel this back.
Oh my god.
Let me peel this back.
All right, we can't peel this back forever. We gotta start talking about the good movies eventually. There are our favorites, but
when I was watching this movie, there was a point in the second act where I was like, it feels like we've moved away a little bit from the general anxiety, everything's going wrong type of thing. There's still a little bit of it in that act, but there's something different.
In the woods.
That act, that's not the woods act. I mean at the house. At the house,
there was so much anxiety at the house.
Why is this? It's a different type of anxiety. Okay. I'm trying. Let me break this down.
Okay, I'll let you cook.
So then I'm like, well, now it feels like instead of the external, threat of the world, it feels much more close knit and tight in this act than it was in the first act. This feels more sort of anxiety and the social faux pas of you don't want to rock the boat, you don't want to upset anybody. And then we get through that act and I'm like, okay, I'm chewing on this, but why does it feel like we're kind of moving between these sort of similar topics? And then I was like, oh, I've pinpointed it. And Kobe kind of brought up it earlier. This is religion guilt core. This is, I don't know about anyone else's background on this call, but I did for a short stint go to a Protestant Christian elementary school.
Mm-hmm.
I went to church most weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I had to go to confirmation class and all of this. And everything around this is so, at least in my experience, because I know there are other people who watch this movie who talk about their experiences as people of the who are Jewish, also saying this, but I'm going to speak it from my perspective, a Protestant perspective, of all of these things are so fucking, you grew up in a moderate to conservative Protestant household circa 1980 to 2005. And that shit is what clicked for me as we're transitioning between the house and the woods, where I'm like, why does this feel so? It's specifically when the play is happening. I was like, fuck. It's about these social constructs of this is what you're expected about. This is especially at the end where he explains how his father died from the heart murmur, and his mom said, "Your father died while climaxing inside of me." And I'm
Give
like,
him the guilt.
I was like, this is the most
Oh, yeah.
religion guilt of all time, because it's such a perfect encapsulation of this, like, the language used in order to, for lack of a better term, control you and control what you should be, thereby causing you to have these intense anxieties. I don't know if you know this, but if you're told there's a big man in the sky who can listen to your thoughts 24/7, and he's going to punish your sins and send you to hell if you're a bad boy, that fucks you up. And like it uses language that like is so, and this is why I understand, like, the effect is going to be different for different people based off of what they are bringing to the movie. And I'm not saying you have to like this movie in the same way I like it. I understand why other people like it. I'm not here to try and convince you that it's a good movie. I'm trying to tell you why this movie speaks to me on the level it does, because I've never seen another movie better encapsulate the once again, from my personal experience, Protestant dichotomy of saying you need to grow up, have a family, have kids, and copulate in order to have kids. But also, if you ever think about sex, you're going to die. That's what this movie is about.
Yeah, see,
I connect so hard with that, because it's the type of like social pressure.
I don't disagree.
I don't disagree either.
Like, I think that the thing that I agree with Paige the most on is that like I don't necessarily have an issue with any like of the way they're delivering these things. I think if you take like any of these, honestly, like the house and like the dream sequence can like kind of be 2 acts. So you almost got like a 4-act movie here, which is like already non-traditional. Yes. But like you can take any of those acts, you can take scenes from any of those acts, and I think they all work as like, again, interesting like dissections of these scenarios and this upbringing and like commentary on that. I just think that they spend so much time on each of them that like if I started to feel like I was losing like the thread and just losing. I don't know if I really lost interest necessarily, but like
you can go too much into the subject.
I got like desensitized. I think I started to get desensitized. Is the thing.
Once again, I'm going to tell you. Yeah, I just did not feel that. I genuinely, towards the end of every sequence, I was like, this fucking dog. By the end of every sequence, I was like pausing the movie because once again, I'm gonna reveal my hand here. Basically, at least once per sequence, the city, the house, the woods, and the mom's house, there would be a time where I was like, I have to fucking stop this movie. It's fucking me up.
Yeah, like I think that might be a better way to enjoy the movie. I think that
maybe just so therefore,
like but I was never bored of it. See, this is why I was worried about bringing it up, because then everyone's gonna be like, "Hey, you paused the movie. Shut the fuck up." Okay.
Oh no, I think you're fine for
what a fucking boring fucking take of like, well, you paused the movie. No, I was pausing the movie because it actually like I was emotionally like fucked up by this movie. And this is what I'm trying to fucking get across.
No, we understand. We understand.
I fully think that what you're saying is very valid.
And what I'm trying to tell you is I'm not trying to convince you that you're.
We understand. We're not. Yeah.
With the film is what I am saying, and it was what was the origin of my argument, is that this movie is not concerned about whether or not you think it's meandering. I like it's meandering. This is what I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah, that's we understand.
It meanders on these topics.
Yes,
and I like that because I emotionally connected the deeper each of these topics went on.
Yeah,
because they cover these small, minute details that I've never seen captured on a film before. I still gave it an 8 out of 10.
To ask you. It sounds like you're singing praises for this movie, so I'm actually curious why you gave it an 8 out of 10 instead of...
Because I think its ending kind of undercuts it, and I do not actually like the ending. I think basically everything after Bo well, we've all seen the movie. Has sex, I think, is undercutting to the film.
Massive balls.
But cock
Just the
monster,
last,
Jacob.
just
Cock
the boat
monster.
scene.
No, well, everything from the mom reveal onwards.
So when the mom revealed onward, I'm like, for lack of a better term, this is like a hat on a hat. You're explaining to me the shit I was already feeling and understanding about the film the whole time. I don't need you to. That is when I was like, I don't need you to explain this to me again. Because I was like, that's what the entire movie is. I'm like, yes, yeah, no, don't worry, guys. I understood the part about like his regress trauma and having this like relationship where like you exterior wise, everyone's like, man, she just loves that kid so much. And then interior, you're like, oh no, this is bad.
Yeah.
And once again, I'm not saying that this is my life, but
you connect
there
with a
are
lot
things
of it.
to connect with.
Yeah.
There are things to connect with in which parents do things, and then when you try and push back on those things, they say, why don't you appreciate the way I'm trying to show my love for you?
Yeah. I don't think anybody was trying to.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you were. I'm trying to explain the individual details of the movie that resonate with me. I'm not saying you missed the part.
Yeah.
I'm explaining why it worked for me.
Yeah.
I think it's just
movie
a crazy
for
cut for the general audience. I think this would have been a great director's cut.
I'm going to tell you, Paige, I do not care about the general audience. That's the first thing. This is the first time you've been on one of these with me. I think, as stated before, I think the general audience, they've had the lobotomy. The frontal lobe, that shit's gone.
Yes, but as the thing that was so drawing for this, I love his first two movies.
And this is not those movies.
No, it is not. And it was not advertised as such. He said that. He said it's not his first two movies. But I just think going into this movie, as a lover of his other two movies, my world was rocked after seeing this movie in a negative way.
I think
yeah.
I think there's two more things. There's two more things I'll say on this movie before we wrap it up. I think he warned all of us. He said this is a 3-hour Jewish Lord of the Rings, and my God, that man was cooking when he said that. I fucking agree with that.
Smart way to advertise it. Yeah.
And I do like see the points of Jacob, and I also resonate with some of the things. As I was in Catholic school for kindergarten until a senior year of high school, so I also have a lot of religious trauma surrounding this movie, and that's why I said in my review, some of this movie legitimately pisses me off because of that, or I felt myself getting heat in the theater. But with the general reception to this movie, while two different genres, two things, the general reception to this movie I equate to how people took to Babylon, which is
I was thinking about Babylon too. I'll give you that.
Like, wherever you score this movie, I understand. I'm not going to be mad at you for wherever you score this movie. Like, with Babylon, I fucking love Babylon. That movie sung to me in many different ways, but the general audience didn't like it. And it was Damien Chazelle, not like Jacob said with Ari Aster, Damien Chazelle not giving a fuck about what you guys think. He wants to make an old Hollywood movie where it is all about the debauchery and like the corruption of Hollywood.
Yeah. This
is Ari Aster saying, I don't give a fuck what you think about the last two movies. I don't give a fuck what you think about me. I need to tell the world about my anxieties. So like those two movies are very similar in the DNA of the director being like, I know you love like La La Land. I know you love Whiplash. This is not that. This is me telling the story I need to tell.
I think I got like, you brought up Schenectady earlier, and I only sat through like,
it's pronounced Schenectady.
Schenectady. I saw that like part of that, I think, when Justin put on like a showing of it on Discord or something, and like I could not stand. I only saw part of it, and I could not stand how much it had repeated. Just what I was feeling was like the same point over and over and over again, just like drilling it until I had a fucking brain hemorrhage from how much it was slamming the same thing into my head. I think I like this movie a lot more than Schenectady, but I was getting the same vibes. at a certain point with a lot of like the themes and ideas that it was trying to get across. I felt like it was just going a little bit long in the tooth on some of them, which is why I ended up with like a middle of the road thing. I enjoyed the ideas it was getting across and how it was doing them in a lot of its scenes, but it was just it was dragging on for me, and I think I don't know.
I mean, I do believe movie being that long is a fair criticism. I mean, it was 3 hours. That's a long movie.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely.
it's a good thing no one else picked any 3-hour-long movies for the best movie of the year.
I would never pick a 3-hour.
Well,
no one would do that.
Hang on.
All right, well, you guys do your last points. I'm gonna get some water. I gotta hydrate.
The pacing in this movie. Wow, dude, Murky has severe.
I will admit
I just
the
saw
pacing.
that.
I personally, because I was connecting with it, did not have such a down on the a down opinion on the pacing. But watching it, I knew that if you were not vibing with this movie is paced in the wildest way I've ever seen a movie paced on this budget and scale and theming.
I just think
it feels like a fucking. Sometimes it feels like a fucking carnival ride. This is an oldie but a goodie. It's like the fucking Buzz Lightyear blaster that Nick Beachu and I rode on at Disney World back in 2021, which is you're schmoovin' and then sometimes suddenly you've stopped schmoovin' and you come to a halt. And the movie is just like, we're sitting in this until Ari Aster is saying, I'm not driving. We're on a road trip. I want to see the fucking largest buffalo statue in the world. We're sitting here
so it was like when I made you guys ride on It's a Small World.
So
it was like when I made you guys ride on It's a Small World.
I'm pretty sure It's a Small World also gave me my anxiety now that you mentioned it. Going on It's a Small World did.
But yeah, no, the pacing of Bo, I think the second act is where it gets very wild for me. But the first act and the third act pacing I thought was pretty good.
As it was brought up before, this is almost like a 4-act movie. Can someone define to me what they think the second act is? Because to me, the second act is once he leaves the city, and then the third act is once he gets to his mom's house.
To me, the second act is like that family house to the animation sequence up until the mom's house. That's the second act for me.
Which I would also like to say, I posted this on my Instagram story. Nathan Lane, motherfucker, he always cooks whenever he shows up.
I love Nathan Lane.
He was cooking in this movie too. He's like, buddy, we'll get you. What if we went tomorrow?
Oh no! All right.
Sorry, one last thing on the Nathan Lane thing.
I just want to make one more barb. I got a few more barbs for Paige.
We get one. You get one more. We gotta start doing good movies here. Do this for an hour and a half.
I've been in this scenario where Nathan Lane walks up to me and says, what do you think about that? If you really need to go now, and I'm like, I don't want to fucking answer this question, man. Stop. Why would you fucking do this? I fucking hate social situations. Fuck you. And yeah, that was me for real. So that's why this movie is good. I've changed my rating. It's actually now 1 million out of 5 stars.
It's a Bo elite.
My final quick barbs towards Paige's pick is that I did have to remind her on Letterboxd that she rated this movie greater than The Pope's Exorcist, and I think she should have picked Pope's Exorcist.
Paige, why did you make us watch The Pope's Exorcist? I would have loved to see him with his little vest.
No, you wouldn't. Okay? See, you would think that you would, and that's why we watched it. You don't. It is.
That's the point, though, Paige. That's the point.
Because this movie offended me the most.
Oh my god! Then why did you rate it lower?
We went over this before.
I know it doesn't. Paige's rating system doesn't make any sense. She picked a movie that was higher rated on her Letterboxd to be her worst pick of the year.
Rating is not always equal to my feelings.
It's not consistent.
It doesn't. It's just made up. The rules don't matter. Anyways, all right.
There are no rules.
She would never insult the Holy Diocese, but Pope's Exorcist was movie of the year. It might be a bad movie, but you can't just put it like give some respect to Rome.
I will say about the Pope's Exorcist, someone does try to fuck a priest, and it's very funny.
All right. On that front, the last thing I will say before we move on to our good movies is that Bichu could have picked Five Nights at Freddy's instead of making us watch the Daily Wire movie, but he picked the Daily Wire movie, which was worse. But
because Five Five Nights wasn't even as bad as any of these.
Bijou really didn't like Five Nights, but he did.
It's not as bad as any of these, but it's still kind of bad.
Yeah.
It's
Anyways,
so bad.
anyways, we have now spent an hour
with bad pacing and are boring. Fucking Five Nights at Freddy's is right.
Now that we spent an hour and 45 minutes for bad movies, let us spend another hour or so talking about good movies, the best of 2023. And I will be kicking this off with fucking Across the Spider-Verse. Spider-Man Across the Spider-Verse. Just I said it when I reviewed Into the Spider-Verse. I said the only thing that could top this movie in Spider-Man land is its sequels, and I was absolutely fucking right. I know that there have been some criticisms of it being like it kind of just cuts off on a really cliffhangery bait moment and it doesn't resolve everything. I'm honestly fine with the stories and character arcs we did get that were resolved in the movie. Him coming into his own as a Spider-Man, learning to be self-sufficient and not
say that, Nick.
and not looking for people's approval by the end of it. Like he realizes that they've wronged him and he has reason to stand up for himself, and he does, and it's fucking awesome. He does his own thing, and then Gwen also has her arc where she's like, I'm doing this to protect my totally not boyfriend. Oh shit, I'm actually really hurting him. This is fucked up. Also, I'm having issues with my dad and I'm trying to run away from them, but now I'm coming back and I realize
the one good cop.
The one good cop. The one good cop who is a good cop because he stops being a cop. He quits being a cop.
That's true.
He said, you know what? I think I might be bad at my job. I should quit. And I was like, you know what, Chief? You didn't redeem this character. He was the one guy who figured
Beautiful.
it out.
We love to see it. And yeah, I just fucking they fucking a 5 out of 5 movie morbed on us with fucking Miguel O'Hara. And so you love to see it. So absolute 5 out of 5.
Can I just say something? Because this is the only time I'm gonna bring it up. It's insane. Because right after I watched this movie, I listened to a podcast and I heard people denigrating this movie. And I've never been. Normally, I am like, whatever. Anyone can have their own opinion. But this was one of those things where they're like, it's just kind of like the first one, but worse. And it's only half a movie. And also, it doesn't really have interesting themes. And it's also boring. And I'm like, Chief, this is one of those times where I'm going to have to fucking, I don't want to call you out, but like, hey, man, like, did we watch the fucking same movie? Maybe you just don't understand what growing up is like anymore. Did you fucking forget about that part when you became old? Like, what, did you go to the beach that made you old? And then
the funny thing about that point is one of my friends back at home, I highly recommend for them to go see this movie. And they came back saying, wow, this movie's like really dog shit. That was the most boring movie I've seen. To the point where his like girlfriend was like, I can't trust a movie opinion that this man gives anymore because I recommended that and Oppenheimer. And
Oppenheimer.
I will get to the point about Oppenheimer later when my friend said, oh yeah, the movie was like a documentary. It was fucking boring. And I'm like, he was like, I'd rather just read it. I was like, but I know like,
Kobe, don't recommend him Napoleon. If anyone says I want to watch a documentary, it's a warning flag.
No one's gonna recommend Napoleon.
We'll get to that later.
So I have like multiple points with Spider-Verse, but with that is to the people who like legitimately like criticize this movie about being woke or something like boring or anything.
Those arguments are the boring arguments. I'm like, okay, I can have a dialogue with you. The people who are like, they made Spider-Man woke. I'm like, all right, man, go watch fucking Lady Ballers.
The whole like nothing happens bit. I'm gonna ask them.
I'm not sure.
Do you have any media literacy in your life? Because if so, I need to like.
Or do you not like appreciate us? This is what's so aggravating. These like same motherfuckers who like are like, how come all Marvel movies are boring? They just blow shit up, and then like this movie comes along, and they're like, we're gonna have these slow scenes between Miles and his dad and his mom, and they're gonna be filled with emotional pathos, and we're really gonna boil down on these characters. And it's like, fucking, what do you fucking want? What are you fucking done? Sorry for cutting you off, Kobe. I got mad about an imaginary person.
So I did give this movie a 5 out of 5, even with the criticism that I have. And it's a very light criticism, which is, I think I'm in the camp where the movie just kind of ends. And because to me, this movie is structured as an act 1, act 2, act 1. Like very weird. It has like a weird narrative structure because the last 20 minutes is, I swear to God, just the beginning of Beyond the Spider-Verse.
Yeah, definitely.
Because like theoretic to me, in my mind, Across the Spider-Verse ended after the like, nah, I'm gonna do my whole thing scene. Like that is where Across the Spider-Verse ended, and you could shift up the Gwen and her father revelation a little bit earlier, and that is Across the Spider-Verse. Because to me, Across the Spider-Verse works so well as a Gwen story and not as a Miles story. Miles does.
I think it works as a Miles story.
Yeah, the Miles stuff. So the Miles stuff is good, and I like where his character ends up because he is trying to figure out who he is and kind of going against the canon events. But this movie fires on all cylinders for Gwen, and I've never seen such chef's kiss of like an adaptation of Gwen in a long time. And
oh, you mean like, by making her a character? They made her into a character with like
they
ideas.
Gave her depth. They gave her depth. Yeah. They gave her ideas, and that this movie fires on all cylinders when it's just like focused on her, and I absolutely love it for that. I do think this is the best animated feature of the year.
Easy.
I mean, like I would say like second. I guess The Boy and the Heron could be
interesting. Just getting the hit of the fall season, Migration. That's really fucked up.
Apparently, Migration's okay.
I think
I've not heard that. I've heard the opposite.
I think with Spider-Verse, this series could end up being in the talks of one of the greatest trilogies of all time if they stick the landing with.
Oh, yeah. They stick the landing, yeah.
I'm assuming they will.
But yeah, I think the animation was
never assumed.
The animation was very refined. The story was amazing. I love where all the characters ended up. I loved all the slow moments. I loved the action set pieces. This was one of the perfect Spider-Man movies. But I do want to acknowledge here that it can't go unsaid that the animators were like very much overworked. There was a lot of unreasonable deadlines for this movie. There is still like uncertainty. They kept releasing fucking updates and patches to this movie and still kind of overworking the animators with this product. So it is a little bit sad of what went behind, especially that they were asking them to create like shots like 2 days before like the movie was supposed to be released. So I just want to acknowledge that this movie definitely has a lot of hard workers behind it, and their work should be appreciated, but no one should be working in those conditions.
Yep. Yeah, like I know it's not gonna happen because Sony's gonna be like, we need our money now, whatever the deadline they set for Beyond the Spider-Verse is. But like, they could just take as much time as they want on this third movie, and I would be happy with whatever it comes out. I've already got two, I think, near perfect movies. Right, gotta feed the shareholders. They're starving out here.
With Madam Web and Kraven the Hunter.
It's the year of Madam Web, baby.
Another film we'll be talking about for 2024's movies, surely, as our another favorite film of the year. But yeah, did anybody else have thoughts on?
Did you guys know that Madam Web can see the future? I didn't know that.
Shut up.
I like Spider-Verse. You know, I think the Gwen show was great.
Yeah,
Gwen show was great.
I think it's a great pick for best movie of the year.
Yeah. Movies do not need to follow a traditional 3-act structure. That's the other thing I would like to add. Because Kobe, you kind of mentioned that where it's like an act 1, act 2, act 1, and I'm like, all right.
Nah, I'm gonna do my own thing.
Yeah, I'm gonna do my own thing.
They did their own thing.
It could have ended in a slightly different spot, but I think
that's fair.
I feel like maybe that was an executive decision.
Mm-hmm. I can see that,
be like, yo, guys, don't forget, this is just a part 1. There's gonna be more.
It was originally leaked. Oh no, leaked is that word. Revealed as a part 1 and 2.
Yes, the original title did have part 1.
That's what was wild.
That honestly could be it.
Yeah, that's a possibility. It was wild though, because I went into the theater being like, yeah, this is a part 1 of 2 movies, and then I came out of the theater and I was like, it's come to my attention that I was the only one in this theater who knew that. Everyone else seems to be very upset right now. I don't know what's happening.
Yeah,
it could have been a more egregious cutoff, but in hindsight,
I think it cuts off great. It wraps up cutoff. Yeah, it wraps up Gwen's story. It's her reaching a high point as Miles reaches a low point.
Yeah, which is cool. I like that.
Yeah.
It's a fucking
The
Empire
stakes are
Strikes Back
established for
moment
the
of
next
like
movie.
fucking Han's in Carbonate and like Luke and Leia are back together, but they're like, damn, things are fucked right now.
And as we all
Anyways,
know, Boba Fett is just Han Solo from a different universe where a different person died. That's how it works.
oh,
Somehow
true.
Palpatine returned.
And Miles is pickles.
And they fly now.
That is so true.
But yeah, this was my number 4 movie of the year.
Well, all right.
Wait, can I say one last thing? Because I think the actual masterclass of this movie, because I don't, because it was kind of brought up about Miles's arc, and I do think Miles does have a strong arc in this movie. His arc is getting to the I'ma do my own thing. This is true.
Nah,
But like
I'm gonna do my own thing.
that is the arc. The arc. My take coming out of this movie and why I like it so much, and why I'm a big detractor of people who say it's not really doing much new in terms of its themes or anything. And I disagree with that or that it doesn't really have themes or as strong themes as the first movie. And I really disagree with that because the first movie, this is what I said when the movie first came out. The first movie is a coming of age story. It is about Miles, who is in his adolescence, learning how to become a man, basically.
Yeah.
Confident, going a transitionary tale. He's at the perfect time. It's literally Spider-Man has always been a story kind of about puberty and growing up, and the movie really capitalizes on that. It's about how he needed to learn something, and after he learned something, he was able to teach that to someone who had taught him something, and then that's what happened. This movie is about what happens when you grow up and you're like, wait a second, I fucking grew up and everything fucking sucks still. This doesn't make any fucking sense. And that's what really resonated in the movie for me, is that it's a narrative about how you are now an adult with responsibility and people say that they trust you. And then you go out into the world and you're like, it doesn't feel like that's...
Feels like you lied to me. Feels like...
Like next step up.
Yes.
Where as you're growing.
Yeah.
Yes. If Into the Spider-Verse is about high school, and I'm also distracted by
and Bobby.
Bobby.
And Bobby.
I know Bobby.
High school, growing up,
Bobby spotted.
transitioning between adolescence and adulthood. Across the Spider-Verse is about being in your fucking 20s. Even though Miles is not in his 20s.
Bobby, come on.
It's about being in your 20s where
it turns out having to be a superhero alongside being a high schooler can kind of accelerate a lot of the
and also there are these
the growing up stuff.
Similar, not to relitigate this, similar to Beau is Afraid. There are external people telling you
Bobby.
that this is how the system works. It has to work this way. This is how it's always happened. And if you don't go along with this, bad things will happen. And someone coming up and being like, hey man, what you're telling me is that the person I care about the most is gonna die, and I ain't gonna fucking fly with that. I understand. It's so reminiscent of so many like adults and other people around you. Like that's what also fucking hit. Yeah, society. That's what really hit me is Spider-Verse does this perfect balancing act of some people are like, I don't understand why the other Spider-Man would go along with this. And I'm like, I don't know, man, because one of them literally saw an entire universe get fucking destroyed. Their motivations are understandable. I'm not going in here being like, you guys, in the same way that, you know, certain people in the real world act out of fear and do things that are not appropriate acting out of fear. They rationalize it within that. They rationalize it within the movie. I don't understand the argument of like, not very Spider-Man of them. Spider-Man want to save people. It's literally a trolley problem in which Miles is saying, I think I can save everyone on the tracks. And other Spider-Men are like, even though I'm like, all right, well, okay, you clearly fucked it up. Like, that's why it didn't work. Like, you dummy, Miguel O'Hara. Like, come on. Miles is saying I can save both people on the tracks. Well, everyone around him is saying you're in a trolley problem. That's not one of the options. And it's like that clash of ideas, especially with Miles being the newest Spider person, being the next generation, is like such a compelling aspect to the story that I'm like, fuck, that's so good.
Yeah,
All
and
right.
then Miguel. Yeah, we could go. Yeah, we could go. The movie's fucking amazing. If you haven't seen it yet, you absolutely have to. Yeah. So after that, let's go over to Vishu. What you got for your best movie of the year?
I mean, everyone in this call should know by now. I love Christopher Nolan. I fucking I'd suck his cock for if he would make a movie about me. Oh my god!
I think you just do it out of like politeness,
I just love all his movies.
gratitude.
I am also a Nolan fan. Holy fuck!
I love all his movies, and this one does not disappoint. And I kind of really.
Which one is this one?
Oh, I didn't even say the name. It's Oppenheimer. You know, it doesn't even need an introduction. I just love Oppenheimer. I think I have like a really soft spot for like World War II movies, and or like just like fucking atomic world-ending threat kind of movies based in history. So that kind of scratched that spot. I think Cillian Murphy does a fucking great job, and I think the whole movie is just great. It is a good biopic that just tells us what happened, what was going on with Oppenheimer, who he is, what's his motivations, and then also just fucking thrusts us into the fucking like, hey man, nukes. Uh-oh, kind of bad. And then they're all like, oh yeah, he's done making news. That, by the way, that wasn't the main part of the movie. That wasn't even the main part of the movie. So Oppenheimer's now on trial because he might be a communist. And they're like, I love that the nuke wasn't even the center of the story. It was Oppenheimer. Yeah. And I think Nolan just did a great job. I mean, there's really, also Florence Pugh's titties were in the movie, and I love Florence Pugh. Very good. They get extra points for that.
Yeah, I wanna inject here. So Oppenheimer was my number one for a very long time, but now it's my number two. I will get to my number one soon. But holy fuck, Oppenheimer absolutely blew me away. Pun intended. Fuck you. Yeah, this movie just absolutely rocks. I think for a 3-hour runtime, I did not feel the 3 hours once in this thing. It is so energetically paced that every scene felt so electric to the overall story that was happening. And going into this movie, I was very like, I wouldn't say trepidatious, but I was like very interested and like almost like cautiously optimistic of how Nolan was going to be able to do his Nolanisms, which is disjointed storytelling. And the way he is able to interweave fission and fusion of the two paths of following Lewis Strauss and following Oppenheimer.
He said fission and fusion, point at him. He said the words.
It is honestly just so well done of having the time periods jump and kind of like figuring out along the way how these pieces connect. And one of my favorite things, besides like the score in this movie, I just gotta say is just beautiful, amazing. This and another movie that we'll be talking about soon, I have listened to the soundtrack so many times that it is absolutely phenomenal. But the one thing I love about this movie is the ending itself, because this whole movie plays the ending is a masterclass of how to fuck you up with the messaging, and I think it does it so well. But the thing is, from the very get-go of the movie, we are left with a question of what did Oppenheimer say to Einstein? And they play with that idea like throughout the entire movie, and to have that loop back at the very end from Oppenheimer's point of view, to start from Strauss's point of view, to end with Oppenheimer and have this vision of the future of this is what my creations are. This is the guilt that I am feeling, and like where the world is probably gonna end. It is just such a haunting ending sequence to the Destroyer of Worlds song. Holy shit. Not just that, I have gone on record saying this. I think this is one of the greatest third acts of all time in film. When the third act pops off in this movie, once we move past and it goes into a full court case drama, holy shit, all the acting performances are just firing off. Everything just feels so tense. And then
the trial, beautiful.
The trial. Not just that.
My bad, it's not a trial. My bad, it's not a trial.
Yeah. The auditorium sequence is one of the most anxiety-inducing scenes I have felt in a non-horror movie. I felt Oppenheimer's anxiety there, but not just that, to also have that play into his hearing of whether or not he should still have security clearance, and just like the way they were using the practical effects of like the white lights flashing and how you feel like the auditorium beats of the feet beating all the time. I could keep going on about Oppenheimer, how just a masterclass of a movie this is, and I honestly think this might be Nolan's like top 2 movies.
I think the best way I could put it is like, especially now they've had the time to like reflect on it and have some time away from the movie, but coming back to it and thinking about it, it is giving you, it's delivering the movie like a puzzle, right? Like, because they're doing a lot of things out of order. They're jumping back and forth from the hearing about his clearance to him making the bomb, and then also jumping to his time at like the school when he was getting like introduced to the Communist Party, and like moving around, things like that. You're not really understanding exactly what Strauss has to do with his connection. It seems like a very tangential connection, but then you understand, like, as they bring in more details, it all, like, the puzzle is getting put together, and then by the third act in the not trial for Oppenheimer getting his clearance back and the vote on it, and then I think it hit even harder for me when Strauss was like getting his hearing for getting put as Secretary of Energy,
it was a position in Congress.
I thought it was a cabinet position.
No, he was.
It was a cabinet position for working under the president that the Senate had to approve, but it usually is just a formality, and they always get approved. Funny how that might not be the case anymore. But then you have the whole puzzle that you put together, and you see it all culminate in this turnaround for him of Strauss's fortunes because of the influences that Oppenheimer's had on the whole scientific community around him, while still dealing with all this grief and stuff. And like, it's so satisfying to see it all come together like that. I think it, like, honestly, for me, I put this at a 4.5, and I think some of it went, like, it's a long movie. It is getting close to that. I don't know if it actually crossed the 3-hour mark, but it was getting close to it.
3 hours exact.
Okay, yeah. So it, like, I don't know between this and Bo, but like, it felt like almost things were going a little too fast for me sometimes, where I was like struggling to keep up with it. And that's why I think I needed the extra time after the movie to like really absorb all of it. But like, once you see the whole picture and you understand what everything's going on, like, I just
it does all click in your head at a certain point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I've
seen this fucker 3 times. It is just. Oh.
I would also say I've also seen it 3 times. I would have also picked this for favorite movie of the year, but right at the end I saw my movie. But like, to all my friends, like, same thing. Like, I made people go see this who aren't big movie lovers, like, and they walked out of it confused and not liking the third act. That's like a universal thing, I guess. People who don't understand the movie hate the third act. I always explain it to people as, this movie is about Oppenheimer being a wishy-washy bitch. And then the consequences of that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like,
yeah, that's a good way of putting it.
And it is very subtle throughout the movie, but it's like, basically, if all of these science fuckers had a backbone, and had a strong moral conscience, then none of this would happen. Humans would not advance to the terribleness that we have.
It's not even subtle. Kitty goes up to Oppie multiple times throughout the movie, being like, "Stop being a bitch and get your shit together.
Yeah. Stop crying in this fucking forest. Get up and fucking make a choice. Do it. Yeah. All right."
Yeah.
Oh,
so
man.
Absolutely fantastic choice. I fucking love this movie with all my heart.
Good movie, very good movie.
Do you have any thoughts, Jacob, before we move on?
I like this movie. I don't like it as much as other people, so I don't want to go too in depth. For me personally, I know other people said that the pacing is immaculate. I was feeling first act, third act, chef's kiss. Second act, and I noted this in my review, this is the act where they drop a lot of the framing device and you're kind of in Los Alamos the most.
Mm-hmm.
And that section just goes on a little bit too long for me without going more in depth into some of the stuff that's brought up, like the scientists creating the club to be like, hey, this is a bad fucking idea, or interrogating. Also, maybe it's because there wasn't I could always use a little bit more Benny Safdie, if I'm being honest. That guy fucking any scene with him in it, with him throwing a temper tantrum about how he can't build a hydrogen bomb, still his response.
That's pretty great.
Any other stuff I mean, it's mainly that sort of slowing down of the second act, which kind of didn't click for me as much. I still gave it an 8 out of 10. I still like this movie a lot. It's just that it doesn't connect with me on that level. There was something else I was gonna say. There was something else I was gonna say before saying this last thing, but the only last thing I have to say is that Christopher Nolan, he ain't beaten the dead wife allegations. He motherfucker can't write a goddamn motherfucking character in any one of his goddamn movies up being like, and this guy's wife is dead as fuck, guys. Not understand the love of his life. She's either dead or she's going to die in this movie. Chris, please. You have some of the most wonderful, great actresses, some of the greatest actresses of our generation. Please just find something for them to do.
She was just a mistress.
I'm aware. Oh my god! Sorry. If there's anything I can go on about, motherfucker, you cannot give me "I am the destroyer of worlds" like that.
He absolutely can. He can, and he fucking did.
I had 3 bullet points. One of them
it was very funny. I'll tell you what.
Man nutted the destroyer of worlds, and that's the funniest shit.
Excuse me, I can't help but notice, but I have this book that I do not know the translation of. Do you mind reading this particular section?
While we are fucking you,
dude. I just to be clear, you have no choice. This is part of what we're doing here right now. Read this fucking sentence. Read the line part.
My second funny bullet point is the way fucking Einstein pops up like out of the shadows.
Oh, his Avengers reveal?
Yes. Oh, please tell me. I think I know what your third bullet point is. Please tell me what your third.
When they fucking drop the name JFK.
Like,
yeah! Iron Man.
This senator from Massachusetts, John F. Kennedy.
Oh my god! I'm here to talk to you about the '60s, the fucking.
It's just so fucking funny.
The fucking Camelot initiative.
Yeah, fucking Nolan's like setting up his goddamn universe. And yeah. I'm trying to think of anything else that we missed about this movie.
Oh, I do remember one thing. I'm usually not a proponent of Nolan, your sound mixing, please fix. I can't hear what's happening. It's never happened. After everything that's been said about his other movies, I've not had that problem. For this movie, I don't know if it was because the IMAX theater I was in did not have good sound or whatever, but I just remember sitting there and I'm like, hold on. What'd you say? You're trying to explain to me?
That must have been your theater.
The 3 times I've seen it,
it was all good. And 2 of them we were in IMAX, right?
Yeah.
IMAX can be really weird with the mixing sometimes.
All 3 I was in IMAX, and each time I was like, I think there's only ever one scene where I'm like, the fuck did you just say? But it has like.
The thing was, I was in the how I watched this is I watched at the space, not the Space Center, the Air and Space Museum.
Oh yeah,
that usually has good sound, so that's why I always wanted to check with other.
Yeah, I mean, I also saw
sometimes
it
I could not hear a thing.
We saw it up here at the Boeing Science Center, and the sound mixing was fine. But yeah, there's not much else I can say about Oppenheimer. Just fucking phenomenal.
I mean, it's canon to the Drake and Josh universe. You know?
Yeah,
so
it is. It hit the nuke.
I'm excited for the DVD. I want to see how because he made it like tailor-made, whatever the fuck he made it.
Yeah,
like
because just Nolan said evil streaming service bad.
Yeah, so that'll be very exciting.
Yeah, he's not wrong.
He's kind of cooking.
All right,
he's cooking.
So that's our second top movie of the year. Let's go on to Kobe. What you got for number one?
Oppenheimer was number 1 until a little movie with a budget of $15 million snuck in. It is also a World War II movie, and it's about atomic disasters. And it has a lot of metaphor to the real world. And that motherfucker name is Godzilla -1. For context, I am a huge Godzilla fan. I grew up watching Godzilla. I've seen all of the Japanese films, all of the American ones. I motherfucking love Godzilla, but I will admit he's been through a rough time. The past few entries,
No.
especially in the American, have been pretty subpar. A lot of late show.
What is this? What is this Godzilla versus Kong slander here?
He's the
What the hell?
He's the king of the monsters. They crowned him.
So, like, I like late show movies are cheesy, but they're fun. Like some of the Heisei era movies are pretty good, and then the newer ones, like in terms of live action from Japan, the last one that was released was in 2016. That was Shin Godzilla, which I have my fair share of issues with, but I have come around on it. -1 literally is the perfect Godzilla movie that I have ever witnessed. They listened to the fans and they did something that no disaster movie really has done, or monster movie. They gave us characters that we actually care about, and you look forward to the scenes that don't have Godzilla. Like the scenes that do not have Godzilla are fucking phenomenal. And mind you, when Godzilla does pop up in this movie,
you're also pogging. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah, it is a spectacle to be seen, and it is some of the best disaster movie action sequences that I have seen from, mind you, a $15 million or $10 million budget movie. Like, this is some of the craziest special effects I have seen for such a almost A24 budget. Like, this is an A24 budget movie, and they are popping off. What I was gonna say is this movie not only gives us actual in-depth human characters and gives us such a intimate story about the meaning of being a kamikaze pilot and what that does to a person's psyche, and also gives us a actually really compelling family drama of, we are put into this situation where it is war times. Our country was just destroyed. We are forced into living together. How do we make this family work? And it is whenever Godzilla does come, it's oh my god, I don't want these characters to die. Can you please stay away from them? I actually care about these characters that are running around. And this movie has such clear influence from Spielberg-esque movies. You can see a lot of influence from Jaws, Jurassic Park. There's a lot of things that happen here. The sound design in this movie was absolutely incredible. Hearing the roar of Godzilla, and also the cinematography. Holy shit. The standout moment in this movie is when he first charges up the atomic breath, and just having the camera slowly track up the dorsal fins, locking in, and you just see the panic on everyone's face as he charges up this literal nuclear weapon and destroys a whole city, is a spectacle to be seen. And I love when Godzilla is an asshole. He hasn't been an asshole in a while, but this man was an asshole, and I fucking loved it.
Godzilla was a fucking menace.
Yeah, this movie seriously made me feel like a kid again watching it, and I have seen it twice. I cannot wait to see this 20 more times. This is an insane Godzilla movie, but not just a Godzilla movie, just an insane movie all around that. The praises are warranted. It has a 4.2 on Letterboxd. It is the highest rated Godzilla movie of all time. This is phenomenal.
Yeah, I will say of the 5 movies we're going to be discussing here, this is the one that brought tears to my eyes. That is how much I cared about the human characters.
Oh yeah,
that was carried through to that level for me emotionally. So they really fucking pulled off something special.
Yeah, I
fucking loved it.
I like the movie a lot. I had I know Jashim and Kobe were hyping up this movie a little bit for me, and I basically had zero expectations. I never watched a Godzilla film, and the only thing I knew about Godzilla, I just thought the whole point of Godzilla was that he comes in, he breaks shit up, and people are like, oh wow, it's a Godzilla kaiju. But as Kobe mentioned, what this movie did was they gave us characters that we care about, which is why when after I finished watching the film, I told Nick, I just got the Train to Busan effect right here, which is one of my favorite, one of my favorite zombie movies of all time. And I was never expecting a kaiju film, because America can't do it right, obviously, to give us characters that we care about. And honestly, it's just on top of the characters that we care about, it's just the fucking the way I saw it was very clear anti-imperialist Japanese themes of them just being damn, Kamikazes are kind of fucked up, right?
So yeah, so I just want to pin that right there. Each whenever a Godzilla movie like this happens, it is always a metaphor for something. The original 1950s one was a metaphor for Hiroshima. When Shin Godzilla came out, Shin's metaphor was for the earthquakes that were happening in Japan that were devastating the land. So that's what he was a metaphor for. This one goes back to the atomic weapons. So yeah, that is like the metaphor. But continue, Bichu.
I mean, yeah. I mean, aside from the fact of like the commentary of like, man, the Japanese government really doesn't give a fuck about life. I think the whole also themes of sacrifice and stuff like that, and fucking honor to the sacrifice. You know, we love honor because D&D shit, obviously. But like, I love those kind of themes, and that movie really shocked me. I was expecting just monster to fucking thrash around, but it hit me with good soundtrack, good themes, and also characters I care about. Also, the fucking lead really knows how to play a fucking guy who's broken.
Oh yeah, I would say both of them, both of the leads.
Yeah, like
they were
fucking broken.
Yeah. Jacob, I know you brought this up a little bit before the cast, but you got some other takes. This is a little differential.
Well, I can't go too hard. I'm about to dive into the fray, so I gotta save all my energy. I'm about to fucking fend off
the horrors for your top pick next. Yeah.
I gotta fucking dive behind cover. I gotta fucking run
Jacob's
up the ramparts.
Gonna fucking lock onto each of us like a Dark Souls
Oh,
game and start
all
dodging.
I'm saying is that I know that my horse is about to take a cannonball to the chest in the next scene. And I gotta,
dude, spoilers, come on.
I can't be charging the British for it, surely.
Who's
I can't
gonna be watching it?
This guy. This guy thinks that movie's
all right. What do you think about Godzilla?
All right. I said this in my review. I said this to Kobe when it was brought up. I just think that maybe I'm not Godzilla pilled enough for this. Maybe this is just an instance of this is not a movie for me, and that's okay. I still gave it a 6 out of 10, which on my scale is a good movie. It's one step up from a fine movie, basically. That's how my 6 out of 10 rating is.
Yep.
I had a decent time at the theater with it. I had fun with it. For me personally, as Kobe brought up, I personally felt that the movie was cooking so hard with the family drama portion of this movie that anytime the movie was like, and then we're going back to Godzilla, I was like, fucking, can we go back? I like the part where he has like PTSD and he's got to work through that. And they're like, yeah, but that's what Godzilla's for. And I'm like, all right, I get that part, but like the Godzilla destroying things is doing a lot less for me than him, having someone near him trying to tell him that they care about him, and then his own internal self-doubt because of the system which he was a part of telling him that he is not worth being alive is like an interesting dynamic, and I would like to continue that. And then spoilers, they take that out of the movie during the last third, maybe more, not half, maybe half, but at least the last third of the film where that is completely removed and was revealed in something once again, this is not a knock on the movie. Sometimes knowing what's going to happen is fine, but the movie does kind of play it up like that character is gone, and I'm like, no, she's not.
Well, she
I didn't know. I did not see that her.
She was not. Yeah. She was not gone.
Yeah, I thought she was though. I totally did not think.
She was gone.
Here's actually what happened. I was
up until near the third, where I was like, oh, she's back.
She's either definitely coming back at the end of this movie, or I'm going to dislike this movie more. And not dislike, but knock this movie a little bit more because I think, I don't know. Look, woman dies to motivate man to go fight big monster isn't exactly a compelling plot point for me. I think he already had plenty of reason to do that, and they don't need to be like, can you believe it? This lady is dead.
He was.
What?
already actively fighting Godzilla for the family unit.
Exactly. So I didn't need them to be like,
oh, okay,
she's
yeah,
dead.
I see what you're saying.
And I'm like, all right, man, did we really need to take one of the more interesting characters out of the narrative? Kobe's so mad. Kobe's so mad. I'm sorry, Kobe. I don't hate Godzilla.
Just left the call entirely. All right, I'll pull him back in when there he goes.
I do get what you mean.
Man. Like just on that note, where I'm like, this aspect by removing, for lack of a better term, by removing her voice from the narrative, it feels like that third act is missing an additional piece. My other main key thing I have about it is that one of its central conflicts is resolved in a post scene flashback, which is like one of the core most important conflicts in the movie, about him and his superior officer who was on the island with him.
Are you talking about at the end where they where flashback right during the battle?
That's the only clunky part of the movie, in my
opinion. Kobe and I both agreed that's the one critique I have on the movie, where they place that.
Where it's like, hey, these people that guy wanted that other character to die this entire movie, and I understand the point of that is because you're like, was this guy trying to goad him into like killing himself and being like, the only way you have value is if you die. But then at the end, he put a ejector seat in his thing and he said, don't die. And I'm like, all right, this is like, why did we resolve it this way? This feels so weird.
Yeah,
and like
it would have been so much. It would have been so much more powerful if we saw them have like a very emotional, like heated argument about like what it,
even if that was
the value of
form, if they wanted to retain. Sorry for cutting you off, Nick, but like,
yeah.
You accepted the idea into my head.
Yeah.
Christopher Nolan style. Of like, even if they wanted to have that scene as a flashback to retain that, like, is he gonna die? Is he not gonna die? Like weird. I don't know. But anyway, like if you were gonna do that, kind of like what you said, Nick, then make that scene longer.
Yeah.
If you want it to be done in this way, to have that dichotomy of will they, won't they kill themselves? Make that scene have more impact rather than just like a guy who,
rather than making it like a surprise
earlier in the movie. 15 minutes earlier in the movie, being like, I hope you die. Then in a flashback goes, actually, I lied.
I lied. I was joking.
It for lack of a better term, it feels very like the true value I learned was friendship, Poochie. And you're like, okay, guy, thanks. Thanks for telling me that. All right, I'm gonna go off now. Man, he doesn't.
And it could have been more powerful, like, especially, like, they could have had the argument, and then we could have known that the ejector seat, like, they did imply it, like, even before the scene itself, with the flashback in it. So there, you could have picked up on that ahead of time. But, like, even if they made it explicit that there was an ejector seat there, you could still have the conflict with the main character being like, because the whole movie he's like, I should be dead. I have so much self-loathing. So like it could still be a conflict of like, well, even if he has the ejector seat, is he gonna pull it? You know?
Also, I want to point something out to Jacob where I'm going to push back on one of his opinions here, which is the whole woman dies to motivate man to fight Godzilla. That is not at all what I picked up. I think it is just reinforcing survivor's guilt. That is what that scene is. It's like, I'm the one who keeps fucking surviving this shit. And that's why we have such a guttural scream. That scene is horrifying, where he's just screaming at this monster who does not let this man be happy. It is just reinforcing the survivor's guilt. And like now, because he has kind of overcame the survivor's guilt through her a little bit, saying like, okay, like I have this family, I want to kind of try to do this thing. And then when she dies, he's like, oh my God, this should have been me again. Yeah. But here I fucking am.
That's a fair
I think you're right. Sorry.
Yeah, that's a fair. No. I spoke over you. That's my bad. That's a fair take. And once again, maybe it was my own internal like trying to logic this out, because what it meant was the rest of the movie was going to be very Godzilla focused. And as stated, the thing I was invested in the film was less about like the Godzilla logistics stuff, because that stuff it's not bad. It's just like that stuff is like serviceable, in my opinion. I know it, once again that could once again be a factor of whether or how
you're not Godzilla pilled enough.
The Godzilla pilled sort of stuff that I might not be based enough in order to understand. But yeah, like that stuff is fine, but the stuff that I was really like, dude, this shit is. I understand why everyone's saying this is so good. Is all the family drama stuff, and as soon as they took that away from me, I was like, all right, well, like, I guess the rest of the movie won't be as strong because they've taken away one of the central figures of that drama that made it work.
I think the sequel is gonna play up on that a lot. I think they kind of needed a takeaway because the central plot point of this is this man overcoming his survivor's guilt and wanting to do better. For like the very first conflict we have with Godzilla is him literally being scared to shoot this thing because he was going to die. And the whole arc of this movie is him coming to terms like, I can do this, because it's the whole idea of the kamikaze pilot, which like is the focal point of this movie. But with the family drama, like as like I would say that the secondary big plot point. But I feel like it needed to be taken away a bit so we can see him come to terms with his life and what his meaning is in terms of a kamikaze pilot.
I love the fucking scientist planning scene.
Also, well, that seems like seems like another in this movie. That seems like a good like World War II movie kind of scene, you know, like the guys planning D-Day kind of scene, you know, like similar to that.
The motley crew that they formed in this movie is so. I love the interactions between the crew. It's so good.
Oh yeah, the four guys, yeah.
They got so much character, like small character depth in such small interactions within this movie.
Also, I want to make a list on Letterboxd of movies where it's you mess with one of us, you mess with all of us. Because the fucking tugboat scene reminded me of Spider-Man 1 with Tobey Maguire, where it's like, you mess with one of us, you mess with all of us.
Okay, yeah. I was gonna let it go, but now the topic is.
I was wondering to bring up the other thing that I remember you criticizing about this movie,
because there's a little bit difference about you mess with one of us and you mess with all of us when it's a couple of New Yorkers, where the point of the movie is that everyone hates Spider-Man, and then the one time he needs New York, they all band together. One of the additional problems I had with this movie, which I talked about before, and this goes to. Look, I like the scientist guy's plan. I like how one of the main themes of the movie is that in order to beat Godzilla, we can't just blow him up. We have to like outthink him. We need to use science and non-lethal methods in order to try to beat him. Now, where I personally ran into some pushback from my experience in the film, and I'm trying to word all this diplomatically because I know this take might bring heat, and I'm not trying to bring heat to the table. But we can use the scientist as an example of this guy explained to me that he was a naval scientist for the Japanese Empire during World War II. And he built a lot of stuff for the Japanese Navy as experimental weapons. And then the movie goes, that's crazy, isn't it? He's just like a guy. And this goes to a general feeling I have about the film, which while I think its anti-war message is solid, it is backed by a sentiment that at least is reported to me by people who I'm friends with, who live with Japan, and it's about the relationship of the Japanese people with the war, which is a lesson about how war is bad. But the problem wasn't the Japanese nationalism part of the war is bad message. It's the killing people, don't do that. But also thinking that Japan is pog and great, and the Japanese people who were there were great members of the Japanese society. That's not wrong to think. And this movie kind of peddles in that a little bit. And that's the other part of it that did not click with me, is that there's an entire speech where former members of the Japanese Army and Navy are like, we're the only ones who can do this. And I'm like, you guys can, the makers of the movie couldn't even, like, you guys can't incorporate some of the civilian populace? Like, you can't talk about how those people also did stuff? Like,
Well,
it's so hunkered on, like, this is not what the movie is saying, but it has vibes of, like, that Tojo, he just messed everything up for us.
If we just didn't have that Tojo guy.
We're great, but that Tojo, he just didn't care about us, and he threw us to the dogs. That bastard. And I'm like, oh, fuck, I don't think this is the lesson you guys were supposed to take away from this. Like, that's, once again, I'm not trying to bring heat. That's just a feeling I had throughout the movie and is reflective of other things I have heard. And
so I guess my pushback there is, if that's the feeling you got from the movie, like, sure, I will accept that, but like, I don't know if I wouldn't take it as a detriment to the movie if it is like what that general populace believes. Like, it is like an American making a film of like, okay, like we're like the mighty country that we are. It's like, that is like, if that is like their general sentiment over there, it's kind of hard to avoid that.
Yeah, but like, if you're gonna make an anti-war message, like, I think part of that should address like the fact that nationalism is a very strong motivating factor.
The nationalism and the war are intermingled, and there is a lot of media that tries to say, no, those are two separate things, when in actuality, these two things are married.
I thought the movie did that well.
I didn't get the vibe you were saying, but I will say, like, this movie is a reimagining of the original, and they do kind of the same shit. So like, it's I don't get the vibe, but if you do, I can't dispute that. Like, that's why I prefaced all of my words with, this is probably going to be the thing that brings heat, and it's probably going to be the thing that I do not want it to bring heat, because this is a feeling I have about the movie that I know a lot of other people did not feel.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to express that, and that's the other reason that the movie did not fully click with me, is because I spent a lot of the movie in my chair going, are they ever gonna address this? What's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? And then they kind of just, in my opinion, ignore it for the most part, other than the times it kind of gets brought up. And still, I'm like, all right. But that's why it doesn't fall into like, I don't like this movie. It's just like an aspect of the movie that
it's something nagging at you that's like a little in the background, but like you can't completely take it out of your mind's eye for the viewing experience. But yeah. All right. That's
now here's when the heat comes.
Yeah. All right. Now we shift over to Jacob for your favorite movie of the year. Let's talk about your number one, which is
Wild.
Hi. Have you guys ever? What do you? Let me preface this by this. Who in this room right now is familiar with one Ridley Scott?
Yes, I
never heard of him.
His movies.
Yes. This is, it's okay. This is a safe space. We can all talk about Ridley. I, for one, am someone who's more new to Ridley Scott than in the past. I never really watched. I mean, I watched Alien, but I never really watched like his 2000 run or even his 2010 run. When I got reintroduced to Ridley Scott was The Last Duel. Last Duel, very
phenomenal
good
movie.
Good movie. I like Last Duel.
Yep. Who was telling the truth though, Jacob?
I don't know. Ask your dad, Nick. Paige, are you aware of this story?
I don't know.
Look at my letterbox review. We don't have to talk about this.
Paige, have you watched The Last Duel?
No.
Oh, okay. Watch The Last Duel and then watch read my letterbox review. That we don't want to. I don't want to get another tangent on this, but
this will take 2 seconds. I swear I can summarize it in 2 seconds.
Okay.
Paige, The Last Duel is about a woman who is sexually assaulted and then is not believed because it's
medieval Europe,
medieval times. Yeah. It's literally about the last duel that is conducted in France. That's why it's called that. It's a duel between a husband and someone who sexually assaulted that husband's wife. But most importantly, it's about, dynamics of sex at the time between men and women, and sort of about how women are basically given no fucking voice in the society and that sort of thing. Now, the movie is structured in 3 acts. The first from Matt Damon's perspective. The second from Adam Driver's perspective. Matt Damon plays the husband. Adam Driver plays the assailant. And then why can't I remember her name all of a sudden?
Jodie Comer.
Jodie Comer plays the wife. And the final act is from her perspective. Now, at the start of each act, they say the truth according to character's name. That's how they delineate the sections of the film. Now, when Jodie Comer's act starts,
Jacob, we're losing viewers. We're losing viewers. Angela's leaving because she hasn't seen this movie. She's avoiding spoilers.
Instead of the truth according to character's name all disappearing at once, only according to disappears, and all that's left is the words "the truth." And then at the end of the movie, Nick's dad asks, "So who do you think was telling the truth?" In a movie that's about how you should believe women when they say that they are in a bad marriage and are being sexually assaulted.
So funny.
Last was very good.
Yep.
Anyway, Last was very good.
What's your favorite movie? Say your favorite movie, Jacob. I have to deliver you a line from chat here. All right.
Okay. Ridley Scott is a person who is about, in the same way that the director, whose name I can't remember, who did Spencer, is about delivering narratives using historical text in order to deliver a specific gut punch of a theme, in my opinion.
Spencer is so continue.
And also doing it in a way that is reflective of their own personal style. And that's why Napoleon is tied for the funniest comedy of the year.
Napoleon, more like Napoopleon, says Dylan. Sorry, I had to do that.
Yes,
congratulations.
I cannot tell you how amazing this theater experience was for me. It was one of the greatest theater. I've never been in a room with an audience so unsure about what movie they were watching. And it was glorious. To be fair, within like 5 minutes of that movie, I'm laughing my ass off. It's so funny.
That was the only positive quality. That's not true. Continue.
I know coming out of this movie, I understand why people might not like this movie. But in my personal telling of this movie, I do not care. I am Ridley Scott. In the words of Ridley Scott, when you tell me, Ridley, why does no one talk with the appropriate accent? Why are things not perfectly historically accurate? He tells you to go fuck yourself. I don't give a fuck. And I say, you know what, Ridley, you're fucking right. Because you made a fucking hilarious movie about the state of modern masculinity. And that's how I feel about this movie. This movie is a movie about every dumb motherfucker on goddamn Instagram being like, you guys don't understand. I'm the most humble, greatest man of all time. And I also have sex good. And then it's about breaking down that great man theory in one of there are jokes. I know I've said this before already on this podcast, but I don't have a better way to say it. Seared into my mind in this movie. I knew I was in for the ride of my fucking life when Josephine and Napoleon go on their first date. And he does not know how to interact with a human being so much that he's like, how do I riz this lady up? I gotcha. I'll use the old Napoleon charm. And then awkwardly pushes the table like it's the heaviest object on the planet. And then is like, would you like to sit closer to me? And then drags her chair.
She doesn't move. She makes no movement to indicate that she is into this. And then he takes the chair himself and drags it.
Oh my God. This is the king of all alpha male thinking cocks. People who think like this and have the limpest dicks on the planet. This is in the same way that Beau is Afraid was able to express things that I was not able to express with words. This is the thing, in my opinion, that captures so much about my feelings about modern masculinity in a film that has nothing to do with it. It's so funny and such a distillation of like, this guy thinks he's hot shit. And Ridley Scott knows that you're coming into this theater being like, Napoleon, that great man, the conqueror of all
the
Europe.
great man, the great man theory is this man.
I cannot wait to see what he fucking gets up to. And you know what the ending of the movie is? He's fucking shitting and lying to kids on an island where he falls over like the biggest loser on the planet. And then the movie ends being like, yeah, you want to know what this guy did? He fucking died on an island alone, being made fun of
by children.
He killed 3 million people. That's what. Shut the fuck. For background, I'm someone who genuinely, I hate great man theory. I hate that there are so many people out there who are
a pretty fucked theory.
Hey, this is what we call a callback. It's the motherfuckers who are like, Elon's changing the world, man. Whatever you think about his controversies, that guy,
he's single-handedly moving the world forward.
Yeah, and then as it turns out, Elon's as much of a limp dick cock as Napoleon is. That's the thing you learn.
Do you think Elon compares himself to Caesar every day?
Yes. Oh my god, that's so. In so many shots, you're like, this motherfucker just has a Caesar bust behind him because he's so insecure about not being. It's like hearing about like these like billionaires in Los Angeles who are like, I got the bust of you fucking Ramses II because he was a great leader, and seeing that bust inspires me in order to do great things every day. And you're like, shut the fuck up, you dumbass. What the fuck are you talking about? It's in the words of Ridley Scott, I know people aren't going to like this because, in my opinion, the big battles, so many people I saw come out of this, they're like, the big battle scenes are really cool. And I was like, man, I did not connect with those like in that way at all. The big battle scenes were like interludes detailing the different acts of the movie. That was it for me. It's the inciting incident. The first act ends, and there's Austerlitz. On the second viewing, it's so Napoleon does not shut the fuck up about Austerlitz. In Waterloo, he's like, you guys are the hero of Austerlitz. And I'm like, this guy will not shut up about the one time he won a battle. This dumb motherfucker is like, I'm the hottest shit. And in actuality, he did one thing good once. And also, as revealed at the end of the movie, it wasn't good. All they did was kill a bunch of people. And then he was like, and then I routed the Austrians. And you're like, oh, this guy actually doesn't get it. He's a logistics cannons guy. Also, in the battle scenes, focus on the cannons. No one gives a shit about artillery anymore. Artillery is important, motherfuckers. God fucking change.
I don't know if anybody really thinks artillery doesn't matter anymore. I think it's pretty important still.
Cool. And I'll tell you what. Anyway, the movie is literally trying to break down great man theory. It's baiting you into coming to a theater to be like,
I love great man theory. Yeah.
You're an armed. Once again, this could also be a personal experience thing because I frequent in circles where people will not shut the fuck up about military generals they think are cool. And in my opinion, those people need to shut the fuck up. Those people are not cool half the time. It's generally like the old man who's like, if only they let McCarthy have control of the Korean War, then everything would have been different.
If like, only they let him nuke China like once or twice, right? Like that would have solved everything.
That guy got a bunch of motherfuckers killed with his bad ideas, and then his next idea was, what if I killed way more people? That'll solve the problem. It's like, I know this movie is long, and I know people do not find it consistently strong enough to carry its runtime. And in response, I say, I understand that, but I cannot follow you there because I spent genuinely the entire movie laughing my ass off. This is a movie that has a scene that starts with Napoleon trying to be a big alpha dog man, being like, you can't cheat on me. I'll show you. I'm the most important thing to you.
Oh my god, yes.
Within 5 seconds of that scene, he's like, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry. Oh my God, I'm sorry.
I'm nothing without you.
I'm nothing without you, Josephine. I'm sorry. And it's just great. And I know some of Paige's complaints about this movie already, so I will say, look, I get it. Josephine's characterization could have been built out
What characterization?
more. But this is the thing I like.
Let's go. Let's get the heat going.
The second watch of the movie.
You watched it.
I fucking
it's his movie of the year.
This
Paige.
motherfucker likes
You're right.
Shocking
You're
to
right. You're right.
It should not be shocking to you. He says he likes the movie. It's a movie. How's that shocking?
You're right.
Josephine to me is an encapsulation of someone who wants power and the safety that comes with it, and is willing to basically put up with the world's biggest cock in order to achieve that. And the scene that sells me on that is that there's a scene after their date where she basically asks her handmaid, "Do I look like I'm in love?" And her handmaid is like, "Man, does that fucking matter? Like, come on." And she's like, "Yeah, I guess you're fucking right. Let's just get this fucking over with." And like, that's what's so the weakest part of the movie for me is when she dies, which is an unfortunate circumstance of real history, but also her dying after her death is the proof of what was established throughout the movie, which is this guy doesn't know shit.
He just all the L's that he was already catching L's. He only proceeds to catch infinitely more L's after she dies.
He's only smart enough in order to just stay barely ahead, and then as soon as it starts crumbling, he's like, I'm gonna shit myself." Like, it's as stated, I cannot convince you to like this movie, and I'm not going to try and convince you to like this movie. But I spent the whole movie laughing my ass off. And that is just something that I can only express through that, is that even upon second viewing, I was still finding that I was laughing my ass off at every interaction. Oh my God. There's a scene where Napoleon at a dinner party just is like, why won't you? He's like, why won't you give me a baby? And then she's like, because you're a limp dick fuck. Like,
you give me the worst back shots of my fucking life.
And he's like, in front of the entire table, just
in front of his mother. His mother's at that dinner table.
Actually, we have plenty of sex, and it's great. And Destiny actually brought me to this table, and Destiny brought me this lamb chop. And I'm like hollering at the back of the theater. I'm like, fuck yeah.
Sir, we have to ask you to leave the theater. You're making too much noise. You're screaming too much at Napoleon.
And once again, maybe my theater experience also contributed to that, because as this has happened with some other recent movies, I watched this movie win over the audience into realizing that they had accidentally walked into a comedy. That this movie is not to be taken seriously or literally. This movie is to be taken as.
But it is meant to be taken literally, because Ridley Scott, as he asserted, none of us have been there. We don't know. Correct. But he knows. Ridley knows.
Paige, do you know about this? It's one of Ridley Scott's greatest interviews of all time.
I don't think so.
So this is, I haven't prefaced this by saying this is somewhat facetiously, but Ridley Scott when Ridley Scott was doing The Last Duel, as I mentioned before, when people said, what about the accents? He told the interview to go fuck himself. And in this latest press tour, he was like, what do you think about some historians who have mentioned that there are some historical inaccuracies with your movie? And he just went, were they there?
Oh, okay. No, I have seen this. I do love that. I love that aspect. What I would say,
he does not care.
I know, which is awesome.
Yeah.
I just think the structure. I also agree. I think this movie was very funny. Whether how intentional or not, I think maybe more of it was on Joaquin's performance.
No, I think it's entire. I think the choice of Joaquin is the proof that it's intentional.
Maybe.
I think that Joaquin was able, and this was brought up in other reviews. Joaquin has done stuff for Ridley Scott because I haven't watched Gladiator, but I know of his character. In Gladiator, he plays a Napoleon. He plays a big, important cuck. He's a loser. And his only power is that he already has power, and that's it.
Yeah.
And so that character is kind of the joke of Gladiator because, you know, he spends the whole movie being like, I'll show this slave that I'm actually the emperor. And then, you know, Russell Crowe fucking ices him and tells him to go fuck himself. And I think the choice of Joaquin Phoenix is very deliberate for Napoleon, is that he was like, I need someone to capture how fucking stupid this man is. He literally
that must feel
says,
great for Joaquin Phoenix. Oh, thanks, Ridley. I'm being handed another cuck role.
Yeah, exactly. My piece of evidence is that there's a scene in this movie where Napoleon goes, I'm just built different from other men. You don't write that into your movie if you're like, yep, this is 100% serious.
That's true. Yeah, no,
this is not made for comedy.
All right. Let's let some of the heat happen now. Now that you've delivered your thesis.
I do think it was really funny. I think the whole thing is that this whole movie is kicked off by Josephine, and I feel like they kind of strung her along throughout the movie without giving her any real, like, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, because she's supposed to be, I don't know, like,
she's a girl boss. She's girl bossing.
Yeah, she's girl boss. Kind of showing, I don't know, I guess like a foil for him or something like that. I don't know what she would do.
She's not, I would disagree that she's a foil.
I totally could be wrong. I'm just kind of throwing out words. I don't know what I'm trying to say, but I just think her character, like, seeing more of the movie from her perspective, especially since it's a comedy, like the whole movie is basically like talking about, you know, ragging on him. I think it would have been more interesting if more of the movie was from her perspective, or at least shows a lot more of her perspective. Because a lot of it I found kind of boring. I was like, is this still happening? I was like, this isn't necessary. I thought some of the battles were cool. I thought the ice battle was cool. But then I just overall wasn't very interested with occasional laughs.
Yeah, I ended up being pretty middle of the road on this. I gave it like a 3 out of 5, and like I went in with your prepping, Jacob, of like, this is a comedy deconstructing like modern masculinity, and I did get that, but I think I am in a similar boat of it not hitting as much for me as it did for you.
It was kind of I felt it was kind of a like a surface level take of on masculinity.
Yeah. Yeah. I think if they did a third terrible backshot scene, probably would have bumped it to a 7 out of 10.
But that's the thing. That's the stuff that is like hitting so hard for me, is the comedic timing of it around that idea of like, I am the best at sex. Smash cut.
That was really funny, but I don't.
The whole movie.
I did not. I was not feeling that kind of editing for the whole.
This is what I'm trying to express to you guys. I cannot convince you.
Well, we know we're just
the rest of the movie is funny.
Yeah.
I'm trying to express that I spent the whole movie laughing.
Yeah.
Because so much of the movie is taking the piss out of Napoleon.
Yeah.
I'll just I'll throw my Napoleon hat into the ring. I came out of the theater. I watched this one with my dad, and we both came out of it being like, it was fine, like nothing like horrendous, but it wasn't.
Did your dad ask you who you thought was telling the truth in Napoleon?
Yeah.
I don't think he's seen the last one. So. But my take on this movie is, I honestly believe it's an emotionless juggernaut that uses its sweeping battle sequences to hide the fact that it doesn't want to explore anything between Josephine and Napoleon. I think any attempt that it tries to do, it fails miserably. You know, I do not feel compelled at all by any of their. I want more. Like I assume this is what the 4-hour cut is going to fix. I've told Jacob this before, where I'm like, the 4-hour cut is going to add.
Kobe, I'm gonna reveal my hand. I've been saying that maybe it will. I'm gonna reveal my hand. I think you're huffing it with that. I think
I
you're.
fully agree with what Kobe's saying.
I think if you think that an extra hour is gonna fix the whole movie for you, I mean, maybe it will.
An hour and a half, and Ridley Scott has come out and said that he cut a lot of Josephine scenes, and that
makes me feel even worse about this movie. That was his intention for the movie, and that's the direction.
Interesting. So now you want movies to be shorter, Paige.
Okay, all right. Different things. Let's not.
Oppenheimer was tied for my favorite as the same fucking length as Bo. So
I think I do think the battle sequences, yeah, they are there to cover up a lot of the faults that this movie has. And in terms of the toxic masculinity portion of it, you brought this up earlier. I think this story is told way better in Gladiator with the cheekiness that Napoleon brings. Like, Gladiator is also a somewhat funny movie because that's what Ridley Scott does. He brings humor into like really weird, funny settings.
Nick,
like,
what the fuck are you doing?
Sorry, I'm stimming. I'm stimming.
But I think in terms of like Ridley's historical epics, Gladiator does Napoleon just so much better. Because I'm not gonna like, I am a Ridley Scott fan. I like most of his movies, and like even with this one, I still think it's fine. I don't hate it, but I think it has the least to say. I feel like this movie is very surface level. It doesn't really go in depth. It goes as in depth as a comedy would. In my like a very like
it's a comedy.
General,
it is a comedy.
But that's the thing is, when you are structuring this movie to be like, I am reading the description, and I pick that details the checkered rise and fall of French Emperor Napoleon Bonaparte and his relentless journey to power through the prism of
not Ridley's fault that
volatile relationship with his wife Joseph. But no, if this is the description of the movie, like, here's the thing: if it is saying that,
because that's not what the movie's about. I stated that's not what the movie's about, so I don't understand.
But here's the thing:
messed that up.
But here's the thing.
It should say rip-roaring comedy duo Napoleon and Josephine go on one last epic adventure. Like the great Bill and Ted.
But yeah, no, like, I feel like the relationship between Napoleon and Josephine, like, in order to have those moments that were funny, I need it backed up by some more oomph behind it and some more meat on the bone. But what I'm left with is just a chicken bone. I look at the chicken bone. I know there's meat there.
It's a lamb chop, Kobe. If you paid attention, you would understand that it was a lamb chop.
But I also think in terms of acting performances, I was not compelled by Joaquin Phoenix's performance in all this. I thought it was actually kind of bland. I think
you're cooking wildly on that one. I'll give everyone else their flowers. You insane for that thing.
No, dude, that is a general sentiment. That is a general sentiment I've also seen online. Where Joaquin Phoenix is literally
add them
just
to the lobotomy
okay.
pile.
Listen, Joaquin does okay.
He also has a high bar.
Joaquin just delivers.
You think you're so special because you have boats like a goddamn king. I'll tell you what. Don't come for my man like that.
I think he does.
People out here being like, he won an Oscar for Joker, and that movie don't even deserve to be recognized for nothing. Meanwhile, no one giving my boy Napoleon respect. That's all I'm saying.
Listen, it was a perfect pick for roles though, because every Frenchman is a Joker. So like that was honestly perfect.
You either have Joker or Pennywise. Those are your two options.
Out of the two Joaquin performances this year, I thought Bo was his much better one. I found more.
I agree. Yeah, definitely.
More oomph behind that one.
He probably cared about that one a lot more.
I just think Napoleon. I don't think he was bad.
We're all making up narrative, or like just.
I don't
think Joaquin liked this one that much.
I love narratives.
I just think Joaquin did okay. I will give Vanessa Kirby her flowers. I thought she did great in this, but I wanted more of her. But you know, it is what it is. I just think in the end, Napoleon is fine, and I think the average 3 out of 5 makes sense for this movie.
Okay, so you still ended up like that. The 3 out of 5 is still better than average for you, right? Like that's still
no. So on my scale, 3 is considered fine. Like 3.5 is good, 4 is great, and like 2.5 is like a serviceable movie. To me, because there are aspects of Napoleon. Like, I'm not shitting on Napoleon. Like, I do like some of it. Like, I think
there are definitely some qualities.
Like, there's a lot of parts I like. But I just think it's not as smart as it thinks it is.
Yes.
Interesting. Okay. What and Bishu, what was I think you were in the same boat. You gave it like a 3 out of 5 or 3.5.
You gotta give it 2.5.
I'll give my 2 cents. I completely agree with Jacob though. Joaquin Phoenix was casted for a reason. That there was, he knew what he was doing. He knew exactly what he was doing with Joaquin Phoenix. I think my main I don't really have too much strong feelings in the film. Usually, when I give a film 2.5, a lot of the middle ground for 2.5 is like, would I watch it again? Willingly watch it again. I probably wouldn't really watch it again. I think too long for me, and I would have wanted to commit to the just absurdist humor that it was already doing a little bit of. I mean, or the battle scenes, because between like being like, damn, this is a really good battle scene, and then Joaquin Phoenix being like, you think you're so great because you have boats. And so it was definitely shaking me up a bit, but I didn't really like it that much. Also, I think the marketing for this film was done horrendously. Pitching it as like a serious war epic was a mistake by the marketers.
And I will contend that I think I don't know how intentional it is, but as someone who traipses around in Hearts of Iron 4 lobbies.
Yeah, there you go. There's the word you're looking for.
To me. That shit is incredibly funny to me.
But you're getting like a whole meta level of humor from that, where you're seeing Hearts of Iron 4 players getting got by this movie.
I'm not watching them get got. I'm like, man, I cannot wait to see, because
you know that they're getting got
pretty early on in its run.
Yeah,
I was like, as soon as I got out, I was like, I cannot wait to hear all of the armchair generals be like, he's not. That's not what Napoleon was at all. He wouldn't
be a cuck. He's not a cuck.
He's
not a cuck.
I don't even give a shit about that part. I'm glad that they fucking tore him down. I just think the movie itself is the way, it was fine.
You guys can just say you don't like having fun. That's okay.
I like having comedy.
All right, let us
jokes. You don't like.
We're past the 3-hour mark here, and Jacob, I know you had a movie night to go to, so let's get to our final pick of the year, which I think is.
Think we can do Poor Things quick, because this movie's real good, so I got plenty.
But I think that we all have that opinion, so this will probably be a lot of agreement.
I don't think there'll be
so Paige, what is your pick of the year?
What?
I'm gonna leave because it's been 3 hours. And I gotta do something. And do something. It's game more.
What did you? I know. I'm sorry.
Son of a bitch. It's been 3. I'm not gonna game. Be right. Bye. Goodbye, everyone.
Okay. Well,
I'll go over this quick. My favorite movie, Poor Things, because I've seen 2 Yorgos Lanthimos films now, which I've seen Killing of a Sacred Deer, and I've seen The Favorite. Did not know The Favorite was Yorgos Lanthimos' film. So I watched Killing of a Sacred Deer after watching Poor Things. Is that he likes weird movies.
Yes.
He likes to be a little fucking weirdo.
The fuck is a weirdo?
And
did you should watch The Lobster.
If you want to.
This guy did The Lobster?
If you want to see the
that
hey guys, Yorgos might have something going on. The Lobster's peak before Poor Things. If you watch The Lobster, you're like, man, this guy's doing something out here.
Yeah. So I walked in this movie. I already knew I was gonna watch it just by all the advertising, the people in it. I think Emma Stone is one of the best actresses in our fucking lifetime, and I think this movie just proves it for the millionth time. It is fucking weird. So the start of this movie, I was like, yo, where is this movie going? Is this gonna be kind of gross? Like, for a second.
Yeah, it starts out, you're like,
where's this going? And then it turned out to be maybe one of the most feminist movies I've ever seen. Also being one of the funniest movies I've ever seen.
Fucking Barbie comes out in the summer, is just like, I'm the most feminist movie, and then Poor Things comes up with a steel chair. Fucking wham!
Look, don't start the Barbie discourse. Don't do it.
We're not talking Barbie yet.
Feminism 101. This is deeper level feminism. It is so weird, so fucking hilarious, so deep at the same time. So absurdist. It has everything I have only seen it once, and that is a disgrace. I hope we go see it again this week, Kobe. And I fucking love it. I think it's perfect. I think it's a perfect movie. I couldn't not come up with a single wrong thing. I was like, this movie is so gross. Also, I felt so gross while watching it. So grotesque. I love it. It's perfect.
Yeah.
Starving.
I don't really have much to add to it. It fucking hit all the right funny bones and like had a really good story with a really good like twist in the last 15 minutes. That like I was like, because the movie was basically over at that point. It could have ended at the wedding scene, and like had your happy ending or whatever. But introducing
What was the twist?
Having the husband come back. Like the husband we had not seen up until that point.
Yes.
Yeah.
No spoiler. I don't know who's still watching, so let's try not to spoil this too much.
We've spoiled every other movie. I'll put a spoiler tag on the recording.
I want people to watch.
Yeah, the ending is like a good twist on it, but the whole movie is just like
it adds so many more layers of. See, this movie talks about toxic masculinity in a deeper way.
Another cuck film.
And in so many different levels. Like, we get it from Mark Ruffalo, we get it from the husband, we get it from Bella, we get it from the dad, we get so many different versions of it and how it can affect a woman. And despite all that, we also get Emma Stone going through all of these scenarios her own way. Yeah. No matter the consequences.
Yeah.
I mean, Emma Stone is cooking in this movie.
She's absolutely cooking. When she says,
I swear to God,
she says it's a deficiency in men that they have to recuperate, she's right. It's a weakness. It's a tragic weakness.
Yeah,
it's tragic.
I think there's 30 minutes worth of sex in this movie. I swear to
God.
There's a lot of sex.
It's really funny. I said Napoleon was tied for first in my comedies of the year. And that's because Poor Things came out, and I was like, "This shit's
really funny,
fucking nonstop laugh. This shit is very funny." Yeah. Mark Ruffalo, as I said in my review, I said Mark Ruffalo, and I know not everyone agrees with me, but I think Mark Ruffalo and Napoleon should team up and rule all of Cuckland, and they would be unstoppable.
I think you're right.
They would.
Those two together would be
They complete each other.
They would create an infinite power loop of them not understanding women, and then that would generate all of the energy needed for society for the rest of the time.
So true.
No, it's a good movie.
Yeah.
I think what I say. I think this is a very interesting and important movie in sexual filmmaking.
It's the sorry, go ahead, Joe.
I've never seen a film portray this subject material in such an outlandishly hysterical way. Because I too was like cracking up throughout the whole thing. I think it achieved everything it set out to do about discovering sexuality, who we are, and how we interpret the world. I think the set design in this movie is a visual spectacle. I think the color palettes that were used as we transition from black and white to the more colorful as Bella progresses throughout her life.
The costuming fucking fire.
The acting in this was incredible. The score,
the set design, like the environments, the world, was so.
It feels like its own world.
It's a dreamlike, you know.
The score in this movie was circus-like at points, and it was very whimsical. And it felt like you could put this music in a fucking Willy Wonka, and it would just work. Like
it is the same. Like Killing of the Sacred Deer has a very similar. He must work with the same guy because it's very much the same.
But this movie deserves a lot of the praise that it is getting. I don't have too much else to say on this one. I think, like I said, I think it achieves everything it set out to do.
Yeah. I can't wait to watch it a million more times.
Oh
yeah.
Jacob, do you have anything you wanted to add, or?
Well, we want to wrap this up, so.
All right. Yeah.
So bad.
Yeah.
I don't want to get into. It's a really good movie. Critiques. I think the third act has some weaknesses, but we don't have to get into them. I think it has some pacing issues, and also it deviates from the more interesting parts of the narrative a little bit in that last act once she returns to London. but those are the only big things. As stated, give Mark Ruffalo Funniest Man Alive award. I'm so glad that he's free from Marvel hell.
He is.
For now, he'll probably
he'll be back. But like
he'll take the
doing
check,
some
but
stuff. I think it's just more low key. He's been in stuff.
yeah.
Well, I mean, congrats to him and Robert Downey Jr. for both taking on like incredible roles this year.
Yeah, true.
Yeah, real MVP for
Emma Stone. She fucking rules. She's
God, yes, fucking love Emma Stone.
Interesting. You don't think Lily Gladstone in Killers of the Flower Moon deserves Best Actress? That's very interesting. Very brave of you to take away an award from one of our greatest Native American actresses.
I'd be happy with either.
Emma Stone and Lily Gladstone, I think, both gave very good performances for different reasons. I think Lily Gladstone, I would also be happy with her in the Oscar. I think I might have actually said the same thing in Killers of the Flower Moon review. I think her performance is very raw, and I think Lily Gladstone is able to do a very raw performance, whereas Emma Stone is able to be very goofy and pop off that way.
Oh yeah, all right.
Different performances, yeah.
But yeah, fucking fantastic movie. I think that was probably. Oh no, I think Napoleon might have been the last one I saw. But Poor Things and Napoleon were like last two movies I saw for catching up on this at the first week of January.
I left all the bad movies till the end, and that was
I made sure I saw the bad movies first so I could end on a high note. But yeah, fucking, and that's how we wanted to do the back half of this show as well, because there were stinkers, but there was a lot of fucking great movies this year. We didn't even talk about I know we all have other 5 out of 5s that we've seen this year. And we didn't even get to talk about them, but we're already over 3 hours, so there's a lot to talk about.
My without actually going into my 5 out of 5s from the year. The top, it was the top 7 for me, but no, top 6 for me. It was Godzilla, Oppenheimer, Poor Things, Spider-Man, John Wick 4, Killers of the Flower Moon, Guardians 3, and then a quick shout out to 20 Days of Maripool for absolutely destroying me in a documentary.
Yeah. I had Guardians 3, which I did not expect to fucking knock it out of the park that hard. Especially because I didn't care about I got Guardians fine, but I'm not a huge Guardians stan or anything. But that did it for me. And Barbie was another 5 out of 5 for me. That actually I did Barbenheimer, and that beat Oppenheimer for me. But didn't make it to the number 1 spot. And then fucking Scream 6, which unfortunately is going to be the last good Scream movie because of the bullshit that's happening now. But
well, there won't be any more Scream movies, so it's fine.
Yeah, so it's fine actually. But that after all the Screams leading up to this being 4s and 4.5s out of 5 for me, that one finally got hit me in all the right places to get a 5 out of 5. So I fucking love that. But
did you say Godzilla was a 5 out of 5 as well?
Yeah, Godzilla. Yeah, that's a lot of the movies we talked about today were also 5s for me. Yeah, I don't know if you guys want to mention some other 5s real quick before we get out of here. But it's not.
I'm about to explode from piss.
All right. Then we'll wrap
20 Days in Mariupol as my 5. I have no other 5s this year.
Okay. Yeah, but that will do it for movies of the year for Horsin Around, best and the worst of. Hope you all enjoyed. Leave your favorites and most hated in the comments of what you're looking forward to in 2024. I'd love to see
all my Napoleon heads come out. Give me
all your Napoleon heads.
Trying to silence
support. Start fighting each other in the comments between fucking Napoleon and Bo is Afraid.
It's too late. I've already liked all the high-rated Letterboxd reviews. You can't stop me.
I will be back next year saying Furioso is the best movie of this year.
Yep. I'll be back. Well, both of us will be back talking about Madam Web being our number 1 movie of the year for sure.
Yeah, Furiosa will probably beat Dune for me.
But yeah, thank you all so much for joining us. Thank you all for sticking around and watching. Dylan wanted me to read out Napoleon Bonapis before we headed out, so just leave that one last comment on Napoleon in there.
If you want to watch a documentary on Napoleon, just go watch a documentary on Napoleon. Don't go see a movie called Napoleon. What are you, dumb?
What are you, stupid?
Or go watch the 5
Sorry, that was me. I'm just joshing. Don't get mad at me for real.
But yeah, thank you all so much for watching. Stay safe out there until we see y'all next. Peace out.
Motherfuckers watching Titanic being like, this is
what
happened.